President Rail.
Present.
Vice President Cordova. Secretary Miguel here.
Hey, guys.
Member Cisneros. Member Romero.
Hi.
Quorum.
We do have a quorum, stand for pledge.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
I think I'm just out there. Next item, approval of agenda. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the approval of the minutes for the regular school board meeting for March 3rd, 2026.
Make a motion to approve the school board meeting minutes March 3rd, 2026.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. You want to do the welcome to?
Yeah, we can go ahead and do a welcome introduction to our guests. So we do have quite a few guests in the audience today. Go ahead and let the Mr. Bongola and his little crew introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Mark Bonzo, the Managing Principal of Bosque Advisor. With me is Nathaniel, our Senior Analyst, and Ethan Campbell, who's a UNM student. He's interning with our firm this spring. So thank you for being around.
So behind them, we have Questa Cheer, two young ladies representing cheer team. Want to introduce yourself?
My name is Janae Dominguez, and yeah, I'm on the cheer team. I'm Mariana Medina, and yeah.
Thank you for being here.
And then behind them, we'll have Miss Clara Adams. I can let you introduce yourself. I know she's here to see on some FFA issues and have some discussions. So.
Yeah, Clara Adams, Questa FFA.
Then our normal crew back here are two principals, Mr. Ronnie Miller and Miss Diley Atkins. And next to them is Mr. Andy Viteris from Elite IT Services. In the very back, we have Miss Diane Leon, who will be presenting on the bilingual portion today, doing a presentation. And Miss Kimber McDonald was also present with us today.
Thank you for being here. Thank you all that are joining us on live YouTube for.
Looks like we got two live right now.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll go on to public comment. Checking. So just so you know, it's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We're good. So this weekend we had 2 our state spirit cheer competition where we're going to compete in state, and we just want to invite all of you guys to our showcase on Thursday. It's at 7, and we'll be this week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and everybody else too.
Anybody else want to comment?
I
Go on to presentations now. The proposed New Mexico bilingual multicultural education program and application presented by Ms. Daniel.
Awesome.
So don't have a big presentation. So what I need everybody to understand is a couple of years ago we did the thorough really big application. And so that has a bunch of stuff in it. Now, as long as we're in compliance, we do our progress report in the fall. We just have to report numbers, course codes, teachers in the program, and grade levels. And that's pretty much it on the application. But I can't, there's nothing for me to give Miss Julie or Mr. Maldonado for you to actually see. The one thing I can give you, the sign part that they will have for you, we're at 226 students at a 1 hour program and 2 as a 2 hour. So for those of you guys who aren't sure or don't remember what that means or have never known before, we only have 2 ELs left in the district. And they're both at the elementary level. We have 2 more seniors, but they'll be graduating out this year. So that affects funding as well, but also it's kind of a good thing because those other 2 were misidentified a long, long time ago. So these 2 will continue to receive services through the bilingual program and get their supplemental English language development. Currently, they are being serviced by an additional TESOL endorsed teacher in their language arts class of whatever grade they're in. So that teacher goes in and so they work with them. We also last year purchased a program for them where they could work on their own and at home, a computer program. So it's kind of adaptive and it goes to those 2. So those 2 will continue on that. And what other information do I have that you're unaware of? 3 teachers got on waivers this year to teach bilingual. I'm hoping all 3 are at the elementary. So Mr. Troy is teaching our Spanish for kinder kids, both classes. Miss Vivian Valencia and Miss Feliz are doing their own 3rd grade classes. So hopefully this summer they'll be attending the Immersion Institute in New Mexico Highlands, that whole week-long program of the Spanish language immersion, and then prepare for prueba. A couple of them do need a couple of courses. So let's hope they continue to give us a little bit more availability of teachers with bilingual endorsements. Currently, we only have 3 in the whole district. So there's not a whole lot of movement there. What else have we finished? Avant testing just finished up. So that's a test that they take annually for Spanish language arts assessment. All 4 domains, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. We are not doing very well. A ton of elementary kids aren't even attempting the speaking portion, or will just breathe into the microphone and do, but as the teacher, they can listen to that and see what they're actually attempting to do. But at least it gets better as they get older. So proficiency is 6 as a whole, so you can test out and never test it again. At 6, most of our high schoolers are average of 3 to 4. There's some as high as 6 and some as low as 2, but I don't think we have any 1s up there, even though some just started the program this year. So at least it's getting there. And access test, we had all 4. That's the EL test. They completed that in March, and we won't get those scores for a few months. So, any questions?
So we also, to kind of add on to that, piggyback onto that, we also did just have a Spanish spelling bee.
Yeah.
We had 16 participants that participated in like the district level, ranging from 4th grade all the way until 8th grade. And so they did go a couple of rounds. It was good to see that good number of kids participating in that. Not only did they have to spell, of course, the Spanish word, but they had to say the letters in Spanish as well. So I will tell you that majority of our kids were able to hit those letters in their alphabet in Spanish, which was great to see. Then it was, like I said, it was good to see that good number of kids there. I believe there was a before that competition, a classroom competition. Yeah, and so they did. I don't know what the number that participated in that, but I do know that there was 16 that participated in the district-wide spelling bee. The winner and the runner-up will go off to Albuquerque for the state spelling bee. If they win there, then they go off to the national spelling bee. I'm not sure exactly where that one's at. Do you know where that one's at?
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque as well. So
Typically it is because Namave created it, so they typically, but it'll be in July.
Yeah.
For the national. So Miss Srael did ask to bring that back this year because they hadn't done it for a couple of years. So she did work to
So, yeah,
get that back.
It was great to see, and it was, like I said, it a lot of students from all classes, all the way from 4th grade, all the way up to 8th grade that were participating in that.
Thank you. Is proposed bond and general overview for the process presented by Mr. Mark Valenzuela, Bosco High School.
So I did ask Mr. Mark Valenzuela and his crew to come back. We need to start getting to that point where we need to start making decisions on what the next step for our process. I did ask him to maybe bring you back some more information with some rough numbers, what that looks like, and then more of detail into those different options that we have. So, floor here is Mr. Valenzuela.
Great, thank you. Mr. President, may we pass out a presentation? Sure. So as Superintendent Maldonado mentioned, our recommendation is to come back, in late April to bring a resolution for your approval to start the bond process. Part of it is the timing. I know that Mr. Maldonado put an application into the Public School Facilities Authority, and they will, in fact, I suspect you're probably working on that for your presentation to them now. And again, back to that project, in order for the district to receive a waiver or a reduction in the local match that's required, the district has to be at that 7 mil tax rate. Currently, you're at 5. And so to qualify for the waiver, we got to get you up to 7. And that is done through the issuance of bonds. And it actually doesn't happen until August, but if the district is in the process of selling the bonds and putting them in place, it will trigger that increase up to 2 mil, or that additional 2 mils. And that will suffice for Public School Facilities Authority to make a decision on whether you qualify for the reduction and the match. And so that's what we're aiming for. So the information we prepared, and it's similar to what we provided last time, and I just wanted to be available to talk more details with you. On slide 2, we're proposing that you break up the $13 million of bond issuance that the voters gave into multiple issuances. And there's several reasons why. The main one is it gives you more flexibility as a district to time the issuance of the bonds to your construction cycle. So, and again, the difference here, the bottom line of this is on the bottom of this chart is if you sold all 13 million out of the gate one time, you can see that your debt payments and what you're seeing in that bottom left-hand chart is those blue bars are the amount of payments that you would be making on those bonds. And what you see there is those blue bars rise above the green line. The green line is the amount of revenue at that tax rate, at that 7 mil tax rate. And so, by doing the full 13 million, it would trigger a much higher tax increase. And we don't want to do that. Right? We know that you went to the voters and said it's only 2 mils. And so by breaking it up, we can manage that and make sure it's only 7 mils. That's the first issue. The second issue is, again, to meet that waiver requirement. And then ultimately, pay interest or the interest cost on 13 million out of the gate versus breaking it up into multiple issues, you save almost $800,000 just over the life of it. It's just the way the math works out. And so again, that's why we're recommending breaking it up into multiple issues.
Real quick, Mr. Valenzuela, so another piece in that is I did meet with PSFA. They were out here on March 5th. And the question that kind of came up, could we speed up the process? So the way PSFA does funding, there's not the ability to speed up the process. The way they do funding is it's broken into a 2-cycle funding. Your first cycle is for your initial planning and architectural designs and those types of things. And then once that is completed, you have so much time between there, and then they will fund the second portion, which is the bigger portion, which is your building. So there's not really that option to speed up that process. It's based on their funding process as well.
That's right. And again, which is why we recommend this. Now, I like to be really transparent with my clients. yes, you're gonna be issuing more bonds, the multiple times, and that means that you'll pay our fee, that many more times. But we've done the math, and I'm gonna show you the numbers here in a moment. But the magnitude of the interest cost of doing the full 13 million, that additional cost, we save way more money even with the multiple issuances. And again, we do this for all of our school district clients who are all in the same boat of trying to get support from PSFA, the Public Schools Facilities Authority. And again, we've just run this math so many times that I tell you confidently that this breaking it up really is beneficial to districts in terms of managing flexibility, managing the tax rate, managing your construction timing, and lowering your interest cost. So, having said that, if you don't have any questions about this slide, our recommendation again is to do the right-hand side of this, to do multiple issuances. And so we're proposing that the first issuance would be 3.25 million. Now, I did hear you last. You could probably do more than that without triggering a tax increase over 7 million. And we're happy to do that up to about that level. So it could be about 6 million is the number we ran, if you wanted to. So moving forward to slide 3. So that's the first decision for this board. The second decision is how you sell the bonds and who you sell the bonds to. And I'm going to this is where I'm going to share more data and numbers with you. But there's really two ways. There's a private placement or there's a public bond offering. So the private placement is either to a governmental entity. In New Mexico, we have this group called the New Mexico Finance Authority, who you've sold your bonds to in the past. Or you could do a local bank. It could be Centennial. It could be, Bank of Albuquerque, any sorts of banks. So those are two different kinds of private placements. And then a public bond offering it's out there where investors across the country, they may want to buy your bonds because they like school districts or because they like your credit rating or because they're looking for good investments and they know that school districts don't go bankrupt. These are good investments and they're tax-free. So when you do a public bond offering, you're really putting the transaction out to the investors across the United States and they come in and bid. And because of that process, you tend to get a lower interest cost. And again, I'm going to show you what numbers look like here shortly. And there's two ways to do that public bond offering. There's either what's called a competitive sell or a negotiated sell. We're recommending the competitive sell. Basically, that works like next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We're going to accept all the bids from investors, and we're going to open them up at 10 o'clock and pick the best bid, which is the lowest cost. And again, that's the method we're proposing or recommending. And then there's a negotiated sell where we don't say, okay, tomorrow or next Tuesday at 10 o'clock, we're going to open up at 10. We actually hire an investment bank on your behalf who goes out and sells the bonds. And if they're in a tough market and we've had a volatile market, they take the responsibility for buying your bonds. So if they're in a tough market and interest rates change, they have to buy them on your behalf. And they take the market risk. That's the benefit of doing that negotiated sell. But we feel like school districts in New Mexico are well understood. Investors like them. There's a good credit rating behind them. And so we think that you would be well served by the competitive sell.
So before you stop you there, on the competitive side, let's say you get multiple offers that are very similar. You still have the ability to negotiate?
No, sir.
So you have to pick.
You have to pick, and usually we pick the lowest interest cost.
What if you have two that are identical?
Then you get to choose whichever one you want.
But you can't go back to either one.
No. It's you take it right then, or yeah.
Okay.
That's sort of the negative of it. You don't have the ability to talk about price or terms. On the negotiated side, you do have the ability to talk about price and terms. So that gives you a lot more flexibility.
Like right now, the markets are kind of up and down or way down. Is it a better time to sell a bond because it's a better investment for those investors, right?
It can be, and it's part of our role for you is to push back. If we feel like the investors aren't giving you the right price, it's our role to push back on them and make sure that you get it. We have little flexibility on the competitive sell to do that, but we have more on the negotiated. So one of the other things that I wanted to mention about differences here between the private placement and the public sale, the public sale requires more information, and frankly, it's harder work on our behalf, but that's okay. These guys are here to work, and I do a lot of it as well. We need a bond rating. You don't necessarily need one for a private placement. You don't necessarily, and it costs money to get the bond rating. And then it needs an offering document, which is a fact-based document. It's a long document that tells an investor everything they wanted to know about Quest Independent School District. And it has the terms of the transaction in that document. That's what investors are buying. And that's why we can't negotiate that in a competitive sale, because we put that out and we say, here's what the deal is, and they bid on that deal. And so we don't have that chance to negotiate. But again, on the negotiated side, yes, we can. And then I'll move on here in a second, but I do want to let you know, these are our recommendations, but you all can tell us, no, we're going to go this way, or we want to go this way, and we will still get behind exactly where you want us to go on it. So make no mistake about that. This is our rec, but it's your decision, and we will follow your decision. The next slide, slide 4, is that long document that I was mentioning to you. We just wanted to give you an idea of this. I mentioned Silver Schools that we just sold bonds for recently, and this is the front cover of their preliminary official statement. This is a really long document that the attorneys and us work mostly on, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that it's your document. And so we're gonna make sure that you get to see it. We're gonna make sure your team gets to review it and add any correction where it needs to be corrected. It's a fact-based document. So there's no statements like, well, we think that Quest is going to grow 3 times in the next 5 years. It's all very historical information and fact-based. But it's an absolute requirement to have this document to do a public sale. You don't need it for a private placement. So, and this is why our role here is a little more involved when we're doing a public offering for a school district. Let me take you to the next slide. This is the example of the Silver City credit rating. So credit rating, we think that for a $3.25 million transaction, the rating is going to cost about $20,000. That's about the going rate for it. And again, to sell these bonds into the public market, investors are relying on this rating because Moody's or S&P, they do this for school districts across the country. And so investors have confidence that they can read that rating report and understand your credit pretty well quickly and make a decision on whether they buy your bonds or not. And then how they price them. So obviously the best credit ratings are going to get the best prices, and then the lower ones are going to pay a little bit more in interest. School districts in New Mexico, they get what's called the enhanced credit rating from the state of New Mexico. So the state backs school districts. And so you also get to walk into the market and sell your bonds at the state's credit enhanced rating, which is a couple notches higher than what we see in normal school districts. But we have to go through the rating process to even get that one as well. The other thing on slide 6, the other thing that we talked about last time was how bond investors either pay premium or discount for bonds. And so I wanted to give you the real life example of the Silver Bond district deal, Silver Consolidated School District deal. And this gets a little complicated, so I'm going to try to keep it high level. So you see a column here called coupon, and then one right next to it called yield. So the coupon is what the investors are ultimately paid. The yield is where the market is. So what happens here is I can't advise my client to pay 5% in year 1 when the market is only 2.68%. And so what we ask those investors to do is pay a premium for that bond. And we price all of this out on your behalf, working with the investors. But in this case, so for instance, whoever bought these bonds in year 1 for Silver City, it was 1.365 million. They ended up paying 1.377 million because they got a 5% coupon, but the market rate was really only 2.6. Now, this is complicated math. We do all of this. He does all of this for you, and we make sure that you get the best deal out of this. But as you total up all the premiums, this was a $6.5 million financing, and you can see the investors ultimately paid $7.032 million. So they paid more than $500,000 of premium. We would expect this to happen on your transaction as well. Now, the value of the premium is it pays for costs of issuance, like our fees, the bond attorneys, the bond rating, all those things that you have to do to do a bond issue. So voters gave you $13 million of authority. So in other words, you don't have to take your $13 million, pay all the fees, and have 12.8 million left for projects. When you do bond premium, you still get your full 13 million, and you get a little bit of additional, because that $500,000 of extra bond premium for the Silver City deal, that was the fees were only like 150,000 on that 6.5 million, so they got another 350,000 to put into their account to repay these bonds. So it helps to again manage how the district manages the bond program. And again, I'm going to show you these numbers right now. On slide 7, just because we were talking about bond premium, let's start on the right-hand side. And we took this data from real transactions that have happened in the markets. So on the right-hand side, you see the public offering. And then you see, we basically said, okay, from a competitive deal that we found that recently closed in the market, we used their interest rate scale. And we ran like what Questa would look like. And then we also did one for a negotiated sell and ran what the deal would look like if these were the rates for Questa. So what you see here is on the competitive deal, you sold 3.25 million, you generated 243,000 of premium, and you still have 3.25 million in your project fund for construction. Here's all the costs associated, all those little bitty ones. I won't go through all of them. But you see the bond rating, you see the attorney fees, our fees, all the little fees that have to be paid to issue the bonds. And at the end of the day, you still had a residual of, in this case, almost $130,000 over and above what all the fees were. They go into your account to repay the debt. On the negotiated one, it was a little bit better. So you ended up with about 170,000 of residual that goes into that account. So again, the bond premium helps because it covers all your costs and it actually puts money back into your account to repay the bonds as you go forward. Now, if you look over on the left side at the private placement with either a bank or with NMFA, you'll notice that you sold 3.25, but your project fund was reduced down to 3.18 because of the fees associated on the transaction. You have to pay those out of the proceeds. And yes, there are fewer fees to pay, but in this case, it comes from the bottom line. It doesn't come from bond premium. And this is why most school districts choose to sell their bonds in the public market rather than necessarily through NMFA. Now getting to the bottom line comparisons, how does this all line up, like from an interest perspective? So on the bottom portions of this, look at the row called total interest cost. So the local bank, you would pay them $1,067,000 in interest for that 3.25 million. NMFA, you would pay $784,000. The competitive deal, you would pay almost $1 million. And then on the negotiated, 1.185 million. But here's the value of premium. So go down to the very bottom line where it's net interest cost. And when you look at that, because that premium is giving you back money. And so we deduct it out of the total interest cost. So you do the $999,000 of total interest you paid minus the premium, and you end up at a net interest cost of $756,000. That's really what the interest you're paying is. And when you compare it to NMFA, you're better on that competitive issue by about $30,000 in NMFA's cost, where you also had to come out of your project fund to pay the fees. So again, and I can't tell you that this is always gonna happen. This is just the scenarios that we lined up. The market changes daily, as you know, Mr. Cisneros mentioned. But these are real prices. This is real NMFA rates. And so from the information we have, this is kind of how it lines up. What I can say is that the net interest cost will approximate NMFA, maybe a little higher, a little bit lower. So, and again, the benefit is that the premium is covering any costs of your issuance. So let me stop there real quick and just see if you have any questions about that. And then the final thing I'll just say is you get to see the true interest cost. Like what is the interest rate? Like on this financing, private placement was 4.5%, NMFA is 3.27%. The competitive market was 3.18%, was the lowest one, and then the negotiated was 3.7. So it gives you a fair comparison of all these different options. Okay, so the next slides, and I won't take a ton of time, I'll just talk about one of them because they all just kind of follow each other. These are the numbers that stand behind that summary that I just gave you. So this is the commercial bank scenario and showing what the annual payments look like over time. The next slide is the NMFA, so you can compare just annual payments from year to year. And then 10, again, you'll see the same costs here, and then the annual payments for the negotiated sale, and then the competitive sale on the last slide on 11. And again, we're breaking out all the fees. So in a competitive sale, the district has to cover all these little bitty issuance costs. You know, there's all these little bitty things that are out there that are required to get these bonds sold. But again, like I said, the premium will cover those costs generally when the market pays premium, and we're in markets that are paying premium right now. So, Mr. President, I'll stop there. I know I'm putting the room to sleep, and you know I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, we're looking for your direction to potentially come back at the end of April with the first legal resolution to start the process and start moving forward. So.
Any questions?
During the process, if we want to go out for a reading, what's the time frame on that?
Mr. President and members of Cisneros, it's usually about a month-long process. One other recommendation I'm making is I prefer to do it in person. I think making an important conversation, decision like this that impacts finance, I think that at least have your very first one in person, and we can do that in Dallas. So it would be like an overnight trip over there, but it takes about a month to get that whole process done.
No more questions, Mr. Gonzaga? I
Okay.
appreciate your time and the information.
Yes, sir. We appreciate it. Do you need us to stick around for the remainder of the agenda, or we're good?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Well, thank you again, and I apologize for, dampening the room. So, all right.
Hey, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Numbers. On to administrative reports.
The administrative report, should you have maintenance to start off with? Mr. Darren Padilla is here. If you have any questions for him or would like to go over his report.
President, members of the board, hope you're all doing good. Any questions? Comments?
gates that were reinstalled, those are side gates or the big front gates?
The front gates, the ones that have that little ramp on the side,
Okay.
that go into the field.
Did you comment on that?
Any questions for maintenance? We'll move on to nutrition.
So we don't have the nutrition report. I can answer some questions on nutrition. We're back to fully staffed. Cafeteria, we do have both, all 4 cooks, 2 at each site. Breakfast still hasn't increased. At the high school, we're serving about 17 to 19 students on a daily basis. That's 7th through 12th grade. Lunches have increased. I believe the last count they gave me was about 280 kids that were receiving lunch K through 12. Elementary breakfast, every kid eats breakfast, sometimes 2 or 3 breakfasts, which is what we want. So that's kind of that. Menu still, like I said, we're still trying new different things on the menu. The things that the kids say I really like, we add back. The things they tell us we absolutely didn't like, we've changed up. Like I said, for Fridays, now during Lent, we have been able to provide them a Lenten meal to those students. We don't have very many more of those left, but we've been able to kind of make sure we accommodate to those students. So that's kind of where I stand. I did get some complaints about hair in food, so now all cooks do wear hair nets, and anybody in the cafeteria wears a hair net, part of their uniform, and so we do.
Yeah, they should have been wearing that.
Yeah, they should have. So, yeah, so that's kind of helped keep the food issue, or hair out of the food issue.
There's
So,
no herb pods in them
yeah,
anymore either.
no.
That's the food.
You know what, it's depending on the meal, like today they had orange chicken and the kids really liked the orange chicken. There's been some things that have been completely missing even on our end, like we found out that they don't like the little breakfast for sandwiches. Yeah, they don't like those. We tried some northern New Mexico food like atole, and we found out that a lot of our elementary kids, and I don't know if it's that they don't like it or that they don't know how to prep it, and so they, yeah, so they atole like that. So that's the one on the list that will kind of move away. But it's, the point of it was to kind of bring back some of these things. You know, you had Miss Leon back here that's talking on the heritage piece. We're a heritage school with our bilingual program, and so them understanding and learning some of these pieces are what we also wanted to incorporate. You know, like we said, we also offer pozole, we offer tamales, we offer these different items that, yes, they might get at home, but they always don't get, and so we wanted to kind of incorporate some of that. And I'll tell you, I got told by some that they didn't make the blue hot cereal. I was like, well, what would make it better? And they told me fruit maybe, and honey, and like a list of like 20 things, but it's just, like I said, we're trying to get them to try different items and kind of go from there.
Transportation.
Transportation, I refer back to Ms. Julie Segura.
You do have the report, Madam, if you have any questions.
What field trips are being scheduled and where?
We have Albuquerque, we have, the local ones that do the birds and.
Rivers and birds. Rivers and birds.
Rivers.
Birds and feathers.
Mostly the Albuquerque, some to San Miguel, Taos.
Did the bus got its cameras set up?
Anything's complete.
Alright, technology.
Technology, I refer this to Mr. Andy Buchanan.
Also the big thing this month is the track and field sound system. Got that in there. We're 90% on it. We still got 2 more long throw horn speakers to put in, one to face the throwing pits, one to face the baseball field. Bill is out of the country, so I'm just kind of don't have a crew right this second, but next week or the week following, we're gonna get those 2 long throws in there. Other than that, we're kind of kind of gliding into the end of the year here. Stuff's kind of slowing down as far as support tickets. It seems like we're almost done with testing, and a lot of tickets are kind of just just slowing down. I mean, it's just not too busy right here in the spring. So we're gonna get ready for summer. Gonna do a few things this summer, just some housekeeping, changing Wi-Fi passwords, little stuff like that. Yeah, not much going on. Just that sound system in the track and getting ready for summer.
So the equipment removal of Alta Vista, the computers, are they just obsolete?
Yeah, they're 15, 20 years old, and they won't update to Windows 11. And Windows 10 is not receiving security updates anymore, so they're compromised.
No.
They're the ones in the library.
Yeah, the all-in-one desktops in the library, we haven't used them since I've been here, so.
Any questions for Tech? Athletics.
Athletics, I can take that. Mr. Turner is at the gym currently. We did kind of touch on that. We did have an athlete that was chosen to play in the Red Green basketball game, which is the all-star game for your seniors. She'll be playing representing on Friday at 3 p.m. At Rio Rancho Event Center. So if any of you are around, want to go check out the game, it's at 3 o'clock. So she was chosen that, so she's there practicing as we speak, as soon as cheer was done. So kind of looking at his, if you have any questions, his weight room, we're about 80% complete with the order. We've ordered, we're just waiting on the big items to come in. Baseball has a pretty significant number. I believe it was 22 kids. The first game was on the 23rd. We did have Coronado cancel on us, so we're trying to find a replacement with them. Track, our numbers have increased. I'm at about 17 athletes between boys and girls at this point in time. I do run during 7th period, which some of those students too came to me yesterday that they were being too hot in classes. So we pulled them from running and we sat down and we did English and math and everything else in between to help them get grades back up and start working on that. I do a pretty much a daily check on grades, ask them, show me your power school, show me where you're at. And if I see them drop below a C, then we start doing more of that and working with their grades. Athletic period, he's been working on strength and conditioning with those kids during 7th period. During 1st period, he's also doing that. If any of you guys ever get a chance to go watch what he's doing with those middle school kids during 1st period, it's great to see those kids running drills and doing different activities instead of it just being a free-for-all PE type of period. He's actually got some drills going. Some of the students that have chosen not to participate in the weights that are doing basketball, he has some drills and different things that they're doing. His goal is to create that winning culture and kind of build a strategic plan over the next 5 years. Schedules, football is pretty much complete. Volleyball is about 90% complete. We're waiting on a couple of tournaments to look at. Basketball is in the works. I know he's been working with the coaches on basketball and looking at shrinking that schedule a little bit, but not pushing out the limitation or the travel limitation has been my biggest thing is I don't want to drive 7-8 hours to go to a game. Organize various rooms is a big thing. If you go right now, there's kind of equipment scattered throughout. So we're trying to collect all equipment and put it in the room. If it's equipment that needs reconditioning or needs to be sent back for any type of repairs, then at least being able to have that. The other thing is making sure what we have. I know that we had ordered about 20 jump ropes and then we found a closet that had about 40 jump ropes in it. So now we have about 60 jump ropes total. And so we're just trying to combine all these things together and be able to do that so that we're not spending that money. He is holding basketball practice. Now that cheer does end, he's been holding on Mondays, Wednesdays. He's opening it up to all the way from 4th graders to the high school kids. I did ask him, how are you going to kind of separate those kids from the littles playing with the bigs? And he said, I have it all figured out. I have what I want. Littles will work on drills. The bigs will shoot more on work on the shooting and those types of things. And so he'll kind of continue that. It's not a mandatory thing. It's just a thing if kids want to come after school, they're more than welcome to come after school and be able to do that. Last but not least, state cheer is this weekend. They will be leaving on Friday, and they do compete, I believe, at 9 o'clock and at 11 o'clock around that time on Saturday morning. So, we're excited to see how they do and how they come back. They've done well at all their pre-competitions. Any questions for athletics?
President. What's the number for baseball?
23. 23.
Did they have enough uniforms?
They should, because I think they're 25.
More questions for athletics?
On the uniforms, do they fit them well?
I will have to ask. I know that we hadn't given anything out because we just ended the 9 weeks, and so I waited till eligibility. That's a positive. I'll tell you that we had one student that did not meet eligibility, not athlete wise. It was another activity. So what we're seeing is that increase of students, getting grades, keeping grades up, and being able to make that. So I waited until eligibility. That was done last week, and so now that uniforms start getting issued, we'll see what the fit. If we need to look at ordering some additional, we can look at ordering some additional.
Okay, thank you.
And for the club teams, for the spring and summer, are they looking for, have kids sign up for that yet, or?
Or like your summer programs and those types of things.
Same as doing the summer basketball, yeah.
I believe what he's planning on doing is putting signups out for summer basketball. I don't believe he's put them out at this point in time. He did ask in the sense of like if there's kids that are in track or in those, if I minded if they went to basketball. I said as long as they're done with practice, I don't care what they go to. I just, want them to be able to get in the gym as much as possible. So I believe that that's what he's looking at, and he's looking at some summer leagues and some summer clubs that can be done over the summer. And he's also looking for people that want to help, if anybody's interested in helping as well.
On the club thing, do they just have to do the Raptor, or do they have to go back?
For the coaches,
For volunteers?
for volunteer, they would just have to run the Raptor because they're not actual NMAA in season coaches. Okay. Yes.
Just in case. All right, we'll move on to Alta Vista.
Alta Vista, I'll refer back to Ms. Diley Atkins.
Got my report. Kind of short again. Any questions?
Just, well, I guess, take away things to what we know.
Mr. President, I just wanted to say that I attended the literature night, and it was really fun for my child and to see the rest of the kids there. I like that they had games for different grade levels and include the little ones all the way to the bigger kids. And so it was just really neat to see families there participating with their students and just kind of seeing involvement in the school and seeing parents there. So
We hope to do another one now in April, just to get families more involved. And I think I reported on that last meeting as well.
do you feel it was a success?
Oh, yeah. And that's about as many families we get to come out.
Yeah, it was really nice to see.
Mr. President, go ahead, Mr. President. For the baseball field trip to a fundraiser, how is that going? And as well as the reason that we were trying to get $15,000 was the goal?
So the company that we went through, they said to aim high. They've seen similar schools to do that and always go higher than what the actual need was. So what we've hit right now, I believe when they last checked it, we're already exceeding that need.
What's the cost of that trip?
So we were looking to raise like $3,000 and we've already exceeded that. So they just said to like aim high, and then the leftover funds could be put into the Alta Vista Fund for future fund, field trips. So, and it for all Alta Vista, even though 4, 5, and 6 are doing it, or whoever's going on the baseball trip, they're included. So,
Do you need more?
I didn't know, it was just like that 15 grand was
yeah,
a lot of money, and I was like, well,
No,
Just
right,
go to a game, that's-
aim high, and then whatever was left over, to put it back into the fund.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the classes that aren't going, the teachers chose not to go. Because they were like, no, they leave your pre-K, didn't wanna go to a baseball game to sit there so long. Same with kinder first,
You taking the little ones to the zoo this year?
yes, they put in for the zoo. That was more manageable for them.
What's included in the trip to the high school? Is it just the ticket and the drive and the meal, or?
Yeah, so with the ticket, they provide a sack lunch
Oh.
and entry into the game. And then we'll come back. And it was a discount for the schools. And then it offered it to parents as well, so when the note went home for the classes that wanted to go, it also stated like if any family members wanted to go, please return this paper with how many tickets you would like to purchase on your own. So if like Andrew here wanted to go, if he was a student, they would sign up like, I want 2 additional tickets and then submit the money here so that we can include that.
And I have unfortunately 0 students.
Right, same. And it was only $9 for the entry and the lunch.
And they stay all the way for the fireworks and all that?
It's during the day, so no
Oh, it's a
fireworks.
day, oh,
Yeah.
okay. 'Cause that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
All those kids.
Yeah, I don't think you can get all the kids.
Yeah, you told me that, yeah. You gonna go every year for your anniversary?
We're going to Denver, April.
All right, high school principal.
Be more than happy to answer any questions or provide clarification.
The senior trips in going to Albuquerque?
Yes, sir.
I thought they were going to Costa Rica or something.
That's next year.
That's, yeah. Next year.
Oh, okay.
Mr. President, is the middle school having a trip?
Not as of yet, no.
Oh.
They haven't requested anything yet.
Have prosperity.
So,
Go ahead.
you want me to take it?
Yeah, you were there.
So they competed, first time that they competed, and found out this ain't the first time ever. In the past they competed, but first time in a while that they've competed. So they did well. They didn't place in the top 3. There was 9 schools there. They didn't place in the top 3. We're still waiting on the final results. Their biggest mess up was so the way it works is you have to pre-pack everything. And you have to have everything packed in bins or coolers and so on. And it has to show up on ice and that stuff. Well, what you show up with is what you have. So if you forgot something, you forgot something. So they forgot one of the most important ingredients of salt. And so a lot of their food did not have the flavor to it. The texture was good, what they said, it had the flavor, but it missed the salt. I've never heard a judge say this before, but he said you can never oversalt anything. I was like, I don't know, man, I've oversalted some stuff before, but, so they did well. For their first time actually being back out there and competing, it was kind of an intimidating setup. Mr. Cordova did stop by and kind of saw how it was set up. It was basically, they were L-shaped tables, they were broken into their stations. You were given a time that you unpack your stuff, you were given a time how to set up. One of the biggest things that I think if we're gonna continue supporting ProStart or these types of cooking is we need to look at, we bought stoves and those, but they don't cook on stoves, they cook on propane burners. And so them being able to learn to get the temperature to where it needs to be on the propane burner was a lot different than when they're on their gas stoves. And so, like, for example, we saw the meat and it was really cooked on the outside, but then when you got onto the inside of it, it was a little undercooked. And so those are pieces that they have to kind of do. I think the other thing is just kind of that support of them with that leadership in. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just, show up and be ready. I think one of the things that the sponsor even found was she had chosen not to get the meat until she got to Albuquerque. On the venue, we were gonna have to go to 6 different stores to find the meat because you think you just walk into a store in Albuquerque and they have everything there for you, nope. So then we went to the next one and the next one and then the next one until we finally found what we
Which was
needed.
labeled wrong.
Huh?
It was labeled wrong.
Yes, and it was labeled wrong. So the meat that they were supposed to cook, what did she tell me? And they cooked something else and as like,
Tenderloin, but it was like a
yeah,
short-
tenderloin. Yeah, it was like a short steak or something. Yeah. So even the way it came out was a lot different. But for the most part, they got a lot of positive feedback. Still teaching them little habits. We had one student that when she went to taste it, stuck her finger in it, and then did that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you cannot. And so it's different. It's it's not different. It's kind of like even like when you go to the state track meet, those types of things. Like your kids should know this and they should understand this. You can't do a lot of coaching with them. It's like even cheer. Like those coaches can sit there, but they can't tell them, okay, you're gonna do this, this, and this, and this. Now it's kind of, and that's how it was with this. There was no talking to them. There was no giving them hand gestures. There was no signals. There was probably about 25 judges there from different departments, all the way from health and safety to actual chefs to different areas. There was a sanitation one, like that was checking how you did your waste and what you did with your waste and
Did
stuff.
they have hairnets?
They what?
Were they wearing hairnets?
Yes, they wore hairnets. They wear hats, but they have to also wear a hairnet behind. Like if the girl had it in a bun, they have to wear a hairnet behind it. And there was very, very clean. I'll be honest. A lot of good feedback. Like I said, one of our kids, and I hope that we can really help this young man as time goes. He's a junior. He really wants to go to culinary school and start looking at ways to help push some scholarship for him. One of our kids was offered a temporary job if they were in Albuquerque over the summer at one of those restaurants that one of those chefs works at, because he was just really impressed with like his cuts and the way he did stuff. And so it was great to see. And again, we want to continue to support that, but I think that they have some needs, even from their tables that you kind of saw, the standard size table. So what other teams do is they put them on blocks so that the kids aren't having to bend over like this. They're able to stand up and do what they need to do because they cook for an hour is what their cook time is. So it's a long time standing on your feet and being in the kitchen. Yeah, and the shoes, things like that. So yeah, they didn't wear pink pants. The first time I took them to a competition, they wore pink pants, and I was like, huh? No, just one. And I was like, I don't know if you should be wearing pink pants in the kitchen, but hey, it was a learning experience and want to keep pushing it. They asked if they could also do FCCLA, which is another competition where they do baking and that type of stuff. And so we'll kind of look how we can support that as well. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was a fun experience.
President, so I know we have it later on the agenda for policy, but how is attendance going on, I guess, for the high school, middle school?
Poor.
Is bad?
It's bad. If we don't come to school, it's okay. Everything's an excused absence. Kids come to school for one period, they leave, parents pick them up. Today I had one parent come pick up all 4 of her children at 4 different times of the day. And that happens about 3 times a week. And so, I sent that information to the superintendent so that you guys could see those numbers. It's difficult for any teacher to teach when the kids aren't there. And there's just no way around that. We're already on a very short schedule of days anyway in New Mexico. I mean, you guys go a lot less than a lot of other states. And so it already impacts the amount of time our kids have in front of teachers. And attendance is very poor.
Maybe for future meetings, if you can maybe put something on your report for how we can see the actual numbers.
Sure.
That would hopefully motivate us to see what we can help with.
Our biggest need is it's difficult. There are so many loopholes within the policy. So the way it's written is basically a parent just has to call in for it to become an excused absence. Doesn't matter what the student is doing. So when that happens, that then triggers that the student is allowed X amount of days to make up that work. So that's why you have kids with 70 absences, but they have an A or a B in class. They're just doing the work at home, or they're doing it when they get back, but they're not coming to school. They're not physically in the building.
Okay.
Anything else from Mr. Miller? Mr. Miller.
So you do have my report in front of you, just kind of a little bit of overview. Continued walkthroughs, being in the classroom, I feel, as much as possible, and kind of providing feedback. I've been a little bit more at the elementary lately. They have gotten to the point where they're doing testing, just encouraging that testing and kind of encouraging, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the data portion. Encouraging them to take their time, even if they don't know the answer to the question, just kind of, continue to try to eliminate some of those. And so we've had some talks with them. So that's kind of the big piece of being in that, providing feedback to those people that I have been in the classroom with. Most of them have taken pretty well to the feedback. I get some pretty good responses back, like thank you for this or thank you for that. Even sometimes what if I try this, and at the end of the day, you try what you feel is going to be best for your classroom. I did meet with Mark Bonzwella a few times. That's why I asked him to come back, because at the end of the day, as you guys saw, I'm glad he said it and not me, but it's not the most exciting thing to listen to all the numbers and what this does and that does. This is a new process for myself as well. I've never sold a bond. I've never gone through a bond election. I've never gone through any of that piece. So it's a new process for me too. And so I said, well, as much information as you can bring back, man, is what we need, because I'm not 100% sure on what these different options look like either. I did also meet with PSFA. They came out for a walkthrough. You can ask Mr. Padilla and Mr. Miller. I think they've kind of made their decision on the way they want to go, because they were on a pretty tight time frame. They were trying to rush me through the buildings. They said, just show me the worst. I am currently in the process. I said, well, there's a lot of words, and I don't know which one you want. And and at the end of the day, my presentation has to be submitted to them by the end of the month. I'm almost complete with it. They did tell me that if I send it to them before the 20th, that they would review it for me and send it back to me with any corrections. Basically, the presentation is a PowerPoint and has to be less than 10 minutes. They just want to see the bad. They basically want me to walk in and say, I love our school, but this is the reason that we're asking for this. And so we're compiling together pictures, just showing like electrical, showing plumbing, showing these types of things. They were amazed with the plumbing, and they're like, well, do you know where all these lines go? And I said, I have no idea. They're just all over the place and they shoot different ways. They were amazed with the electrical too. And I said, well, electrician just told me that. He says, most of the time when you wire and you run into conduit, it goes to the same area, but these ones go every direction. And so, those are the types of things at PSFA. So I will present to them. I believe it won't be till April, but my presentation is I sent it to another employee for them to doctor up my presentation, because they said when I do PowerPoint, they're just words and pictures and black and white, and if you can doctor it up and make it pretty for me. So I hope to have that sent out to them by the end of the week. District planning, again, we're just focusing and starting to look at. We did send out letters of intent to return to employees. We did have a couple that are going to retire. A couple of them asked me not to be recognized by the board or by anybody for the retirement. They just want to say adios and go their way, and I said I completely respect that. But we will kind of start looking at the way that we need to plan in that. As that kind of comes into place, we know that there's going to be some budgetary areas that we need to really look at. I've already started working on, which is my next piece, the unified application. I do know that in the unified application, our Title I was cut by about $13,000. We were about 141 last year, and we're down to 129 this year. And so, with that being said, we're starting to see Title I money is used pretty much to cover like our educational assistance. Based on that, Title II, we were receiving about $21,000 and now we're receiving about $14,000 in Title II money. Title III, we won't even talk about because I think every year gets less and less. Yeah, we see pretty much nothing out of that, enough to pay a little bit for some programs, things like that, but nothing major. Title IV money was about $40,000 and we're down to about $31,000 on that. And so it's just, based on enrollment, based on those types of things. It's not anything that we've done or anybody's done. It's just they take that number, they look at your enrollment. I did this year, I underestimated our enrollment by 10 for the purpose so that we don't have to pay back. If those numbers stay higher, then we will receive that additional funding as the time goes. Once we do our 40 and our 80-day counts. But I did do it on that purpose because the last time, I don't know if you remember writing a big check back to the state for like $90-some thousand. I wanted to avoid that. And so that was kind of recommendation of our business managers to, let's underestimate it at this number so that you still get your funding, but if you have those additional numbers, then we kind of come back up. So I'm pretty much done with unified application. All I'm waiting on is IDAB to be released. That one's, yeah, they keep pushing it back. It's supposed to be the 5th and it was the 15th, now the 20th or something like that. So IDAB is your special education money. And so I'm waiting on that to be released because that's the last portion of it. I did attend our AC2 meeting. Now that another superintendent is on leave, I take the duty of the chairman of the REC. So that's kind of a learning curve for myself. I have myself a nice little paper just like you do because I forget to do votes and everything else that I need to do. And so just kind of that. And then spring budget is now, and I will be attending spring budget and kind of see more or less where that comes.
What was the number for the student value percentage?
It was $87 per student that went up. So that was like 3,000 some, so it'll be about 3,400, 500, something like that. And I can get you that when I get back because they're supposed to release all those actual numbers at spring
For the
budget.
conference,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you already have a budget committee meeting?
No, we haven't had a budget committee meeting. We were planning on one next week, and then once I get back, then we can kind of figure out more or less on where that's at.
Get the right.
Calendar, same type of deal. What I did this year is I did a little different. I sent the draft calendar, or the current calendar for this year and a draft calendar to staff, and I asked them to please present a staff calendar from both sites so that we could propose to the calendar committee as well, so that we're getting all input from staff as well. Of course, with parameters of like the number of days necessary, not days that I did tell them like election day is a must. Like you don't have the ability to come to school on that Tuesday. Like that's the same thing.
The only other thing, Mr. M, that I have to say is all the department reports they're posted to the website.
The report?
Because just for the transparency of it, because there's people that are watching. If you say you have my report in front of you, well, nobody knows what's unless you read it verbatim. So
That's what I mentioned to you, Mr. President. The easiest thing to do is just to have them get up and read it. Since you're
we
being
could do
recorded.
that, but if they're published with the minutes to the website,
We
then
can publish or we can do, I've been, so kind of, to go back, I've been looking at other districts and kind of what they're doing. And there's some other districts that will actually post a whole board packet and it will be in there. It's nothing secret, there's nothing in there that's a secret to anybody. So if you want us to do that, we can create a space for that and be able to do. Now, the problem that we have with that is that we won't be able to keep them that long because it starts taking up a number. So if we want to say, at least 3 meetings worth, 4 meetings worth, something like that, and then they start replacing, we can do that. If that's the way we want to go, that's full transparency. Anybody in the public will see exactly what you're looking at right there.
I think it's probably a good idea, and that way members of the public that choose to view if we say, well, the reports that we're gonna go over are on our district website, they'll be available for anybody. That way, if they're watching, they can pull them up and see what,
If they really want, though, they can come in and ask.
yeah, I mean, they could, but I'm just saying to keep it transparent across the board. I think we gotta just figure out a way to make them so anybody can look at them if they want to ahead of the meeting or whatever, or during the meeting, you can see.
You can't do it till after the meeting.
Yeah,
Can't prepare it first.
but if we post the minutes with the report, you know, it gives them an opportunity. If there's a question, well, then they can look and say, okay, well, they're right here, versus.
Yeah, we could,
have my
do
report in
it
front
however
of
you
you,
guys
that's
feel is
all.
gonna be the easiest way. We have copies here, I know Miss Aguda has
I
made copies.
can.
Yeah, they're here,
For-
but
And
if
all
people
copies.
watching don't know how to get them, you know, so if I just say disclaimer, hey, if you wanna see the reports, they'll be available
Yeah.
at this website, on our school website, along with our packet or whatever.
Okay.
I think it would be a step in the right direction to be transparent.
Yeah, we can do that.
Mr. President, something that the county does and that the village is gonna move forward with is they hyperlink their PDFs onto the agenda directly. And there's no, like, you don't have to upload a separate document or anything, it's just hyperlinked on the agenda. And so it would save you space and they would have to just open it on their own document.
Like, you didn't fancy, you have to show us.
No.
It's not hard, it's scanned, so like my stuff that I have to put in, I just scan it over. And then when it's under my report or whatever from presenting to commission,
You
you
just
just
hyperlink and click
shows
on that.
what I uploaded, everything, it's really not that hard, it's all just scan documents.
Yeah, we could definitely do something to that.
I had an easy sprint.
And that way, if they wanna see something, they don't have to go to the agenda and then attachments or board, maybe or board, whatever package, they would just go to the agenda directly, click on the hyperlink and it's all
open that up.
Yeah.
They could look at whatever they want instead of like scrolling through everything and like,
So all it is agenda and then agenda packet.
So the county
and the
does this
packet
currently?
portion
the county
is-
does it currently
I'll
and,
kind of look at how they're doing it and then we can kind of.
I'll look as well as to.
yeah,
I think it would serve us well.
Yeah, we have the IT guy here. So,
Yeah, I'll chill on that for sure.
Okay, if there's any other questions for Mr. Maldonado, the superintendent?
Did you get a chance to look at that grant I sent you? It's been a minute.
I
and
probably
forgot
did,
to-
and I probably pushed it to the side.
It's due in April, if
Okay.
we want to put in for it, but I figure that's a good chunk of money that
Yes,
would be nice for that. holiday.
I'll get back on that. Now that I'm pretty much done with this unified application, that's been the biggest chunk of my time.
If you need anything for that, let me know.
Okay.
It's through USDA, so
Okay.
figure it out.
Mr. President, one more thing, I guess, I know a couple meetings ago we talked about the hydrogen thing you're proposing, has anybody reached out to you yet?
So I did get invited to a meeting that was only supposed to be 45 minutes, that turned into about 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Where you at?
I did go. I got some good information. Again, we're a school district. I gotta look at the best interest of our students and concerns that we have there. I got some good information. I got some more answers to things at least. I don't, again, like I've told them, I can't lean either way. I will support if this is something that comes into the community. Of course, I will support it and I will support, kids coming into the district. But at the end of the day, I'm also not going to go and campaign for it one way or another either, being that that's not what we can do here. I did get some good answers and a lot of clarification. Biggest thing that I think that kind of came up to was, like if you were to have an explosion, those types of things, and they showed the breakdown of the radiuses. Even if Alta Vista sat where Alta Vista sat, it wouldn't affect Alta Vista one bit based on their study that they did. It doesn't hit enough. It doesn't hit far enough in the blast zone.
See, those are things that I don't think, I know that was one of the big, well, there's a concern about the water usage, but another one
Yes.
was how close it stays to the school and
Yeah.
what kind of environmental impact it could have if something did happen.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, maybe not initial blast might not hurt the school, but
Well,
as the wind blows.
I think you're gonna have impact, especially with the wind blowing anyways. And I think that even with, you see it back here, even with the tailings that are already sitting there, you see those little dust storms that come from back there. And so I think that that's the piece. Of course, I would like the conversation, continue the conversation with the environmental end and kind of see more or less, because yeah, that's talking just a blast. It was even went as deep as into like, if it was a blast, what it do to your eardrums, and this area, it would just be a loud boom. It wouldn't rupture your eardrums, it wouldn't do anything based on the studies that they provided. Again, that's one end of study. I do have those reports sitting in there if anybody's interested in looking at kind of what they had provided. But you know, at the end of the day, like I've told them, anything that can come into Cuesta that can kind of boost the economy, boost enrollment. I don't know what enrollment it boosts, because the plan, I believe, was like 300 contractors that may come in, but we all know that when you bring 300 contractors, you don't bring 300 families. You bring contractors. They had that boom down south with the oil where they kept saying it's going to increase your enrollment, you build bigger schools, do this, do that. And what they saw was these people would come in Monday through Friday, and then Friday afternoon, it was a ghost town because they would just try back out because they came solo and went home to their families for the weekend, and then they came back on Sunday evening or Monday morning, and so you started all over again. So again, at the end of the day, I don't know what impact it will have. I do feel that, you know, we do probably need to sit down and go deeper into like these studies that did.
Even talk to your staff, see what their thoughts are.
Yeah.
Concerns or.
Yeah.
That way when you go to those meetings, you have something to touch on.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to new business. And item A, discuss and possible action regarding state FFA overnight trip to Las Cruces for April 6th through 10th, 2026.
So I did invite Miss Adams to this. I can kind of speak a little bit for it. I did talk with her prior to. This is our annual state competition for FFA. This is our students that do, you know, food sciences, vet sciences. I believe we started a horticulture group this year, and a forestry. Forestry has been something that we've kind of done. Horticulture kind of goes based with our science classes that we're offering and being able to offer. And so you kind of see the breakdown. I believe they would be able to leave on Tuesday. They just have to be there before 5:30 to take their test. So if they left at about 8 or 9 in the morning, about a 5.5 to 6 hour drive, and SUVs, they should be there no problem by 5:30 to be able to get their report, take their test. And if any further questions, I can refer them to Miss Adams if you would like, or if you have questions that I can answer. But I did include their kind of their itinerary that would do the possibilities that they could qualify for. Right now, Miss Adams, you qualified what?
Oh, we've actually qualified everything but wildlife.
Okay.
And but, you know, on that note, as far as, we were able to attend Roswell this past weekend, and Roswell is our district contest, and I have been told that it's as close to state as you can get. Usually, like how you fall in Roswell, it tends to be the leaders at state. And our food science team, school, our food science team was 7th overall. So that is really encouraging because, you know, at state, the first time we went to state, we were 28th. Last year we were 16th, and if we can move up top 10, the top 10 call back. They get called back. They have an hour to prepare a 20-minute presentation, and then from there they could potentially go top 5. So as far as seeing the improvement of these kids in the past 3 years, it's just been incredible. And food science was something I never studied until one of them said, "Oh, hey, look, there's no public speaking. Let's do food science." So, and then they realized, oh wait, if we make top 10, but they've really gotten into it. And one of those things we were talking as far as improvement goes, last year our math scores on there, every one of these tests has a math component. Every one of these tests has like an English component. Every one of them does this. They last year at state, statistically speaking, you would have thought we would have gotten one math problem right. We didn't get any math right. For all of the 4 kids in food science, we got no math right. Now we've got total opposite in the 2 contests that we haven't missed a single math problem. So we're seeing that improvement, we're seeing the studying, we're seeing the hands-on components that are coming around. Our vet science is improving. The districts are, as far as our district contest goes, so everybody qualified through the district contest. Forestry came in second, and that's brand new. We're all learning about that. The horticulture came in fifth, so we kind of struggled a little bit there. Milk actually surprised me. I was talking to Mr. Maldonado, and I'm like, I don't know on my milk team. I don't know if, maybe we should wait a year on them, but they actually placed second at districts. So I was really surprised about that. They kind of came through. Vet science, we placed fourth, and Allie, because they have individual scores. And in fact, our food science, in point blank, we kicked butt in district. Out of the top 5, 4 of them were Cuesta. And that's our whole vet science, or our whole food science team there. And vet science, Allison Segura came in top 4. She was 4th place as far as that goes. So it is, the kids are, mostly of them are wanting it. Mr. Maldonado can see, because they'll actually come get me and say, okay, you promised we were going to do this, so then I need to go and talk to somebody, and, we need to do the math stepping out. He watched us as we figured out, calculated the steps for forestry so that they can figure out the height of a tree or the length of distance and everything like this, and learning how to use the azimuth compass, and, so they're learning a lot. It's really great to watch them improve. So I really do appreciate if we can take this opportunity to get them to state. It's really been a great it's great for them. I'm a little exhausted, but they're doing good.
How much?
I haven't looked at rooms yet. I figured once we got there, I think last time when I looked rooms on Christmas, I paid about $120 to $130 a night. I don't know, how many rooms would you need?
If we took everybody, including the milk team, because I had thought, if it comes down to it, we do have one last chance for wildlife on Tuesday. So I know I'm looking at you because Cardo missed it this weekend. He didn't get to go with us, and he's our wildlife guy there. But if we did just limit it to vet science and food science, it was just those, it would just be 4 rooms probably. But if we were able to take all of them, last year we had 5 rooms. And last year we did Sleep In, which is right across from the Pan Am Center, so it was perfect location for them. And last year they gave us a deal at $99 a night. I don't know what it would be now, but and it was a nice hotel. I was a little hesitant when it came out as price, but had the swimming pools right next to Starbucks, and we do. Yes, it is a week, but I make sure that if they are not in contest, they are studying. We go to the museums, we do the college tour, or they have that block where they sit down and do their schoolwork, for their teachers for that week. And we're not the only school that does it. There's a lot of FFA kids that gather in the commons, and they all have their computers, and they're all doing their schoolwork at different times throughout it.
So with that said, Mr. President, we've been generous, and I would ask him again. I don't know if he would be able to, just because it would be a long report time. But Mr. Eddie has been driving for us and actually taking the bus, which the kids like because it's a little roomier. And so if he was able to do that, I would have to work with Mr. Martinez to make sure that he would be okay with something like that. But if you're looking at that, he's actually got me a pretty good discount on cost. I think I paid him about $500 on the norm for these little drives, which when you break down the 2 SUV drivers, it's still about $100 cheaper. And so of course it'll probably be a little bit higher, but I could also talk to him and see if he'd be interested in being able to do that. They are working on getting a new driver that has been kind of riding with them. He did pass his tests, I believe, and did he test at the state level?
He did.
He did?
He's waiting for further.
So I could talk to him, and if that was the ability, then maybe we could get a few more of those kids out there. I think Ms. Adams has done a great job with that. If you give me a limit and say this is what we want, or if it is set to the 2 SUVs, then 12 would be our max number of kids that would be able to go. And then we could kind of.
A couple of questions I got, because then right after this item, is there 2 state competitions?
So that's what I want to. That's what I want to
get into that.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk to you
So,
about.
but on this one, let's say, when we do state competitions for any other sport or whatever, we don't restrict the number of kids that can go on that team.
No.
So, I mean, I don't think you can with this competition either. If it's only 7, then it's only 7. But if
How many do you
it's
have?
All of us, okay, so on these, if I were to take everybody that is part of all of these teams, it would be 12, probably 12 students. It could go up to 13 depending on what happens on Tuesday, but it would probably be 12.
So 12 would still be your number of your
Yes.
SUV. I know that one of the students that you're thinking possibilities, we also gotta look at baseball and those types of
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's a huge, yeah, so it may. And we haven't got to talk to him yet, since he's been on vacation.
So back to like what you were saying, membership, let us know, we wouldn't wanna deny these kids, and that's why, like I said, if it was 20 kids and Eddie was able to say, Charlie's okay with me being able to take the week and take them and drive, we would offer our bus to them. If not, then I would work with Charlie to try to figure out what would be the cost to get this bus down there, what this cost would be. That would be a much larger cost, just because I pay mileage, standby time, all that good stuff. Maybe he would work with us. But it's good to hear that even if it's your max, it would still be 12 kids, would give you enough to be able to take the.
So
Take that shit.
what's your recommendation, Mr.?
My recommendation would be for approval.
Second. First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discuss and possible action regarding FFA State Convention overnight trip to Las Cruces, May 25th to the 28th.
Yes, okay, so if I may,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yes, FFA, and we spent, Mr. Maldonado, when we talked, I spent an hour. And the coolest part about FFA is the diversity of it. I mean, if you're into public speaking, we have public speaking. If you're into the CDEs, we have the CDEs. If you're into the livestock, we have the livestock, the well-offs. So yes, we could potentially, if we count state fair as a state event as well, that would be 5 state events that FFA could take part in. We did take part in the state fair. Our junior high made it to their state, and our Spanish, they made it to their state. Our CDEs, that's the career development events, that's the one in April. The LDEs, that's the leadership development events, and those are our public speaking, our quiz contests, things like that. We qualified for that. We actually tied for first. Our girls did, that would be Allison Segura, Jolene Segura, Gianna Young, and Jessica Jackson. They tied for first, and again, we lost the tiebreaker. I hate tiebreakers in our quiz because we haven't won the tiebreaker yet. But tying for first and then losing the tiebreaker going second. So they only take the top 3 to the state contest there. We also have a young man, our historian is doing a scrapbook, so he will present his scrapbook at the state convention as well. So there'd be about 5, possibly 6, so that he wouldn't be the only boy. We could take 6 down to Las Cruces in May. Now, we don't have to stay for the full week. The scrapbook, the quiz contest is on Tuesday, so I would like to go down Monday on that one because the quiz contest is at 8 or 9. I can't remember. Did you look at the schedule? 8 or 9?
I have it here.
Yeah. At 8? Okay, so at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. So I would like to be able to go down the night before. And then the scrapbook gets turned in on Wednesday. So we could potentially come back Wednesday afternoon. We don't necessarily have to stay for that whole week. They have workshops that the kids can attend throughout the week, and then the awards ceremony is Thursday. So we could stay for that whole week, but we don't. It's not absolutely necessary to stay for that whole week.
So what would be the number of students that would be attending this?
6 at the 6 at the most.
So
I almost said 6, 7.
so this state, and I'll be honest, Mr. President, I struggle with this one because of denying other activities and overnight stay. And, but when she explained to me that this is a different type of state competition for other areas, that's why I said, well, we can bring it on and kind of see what the board has to say about those ones. This is also, we are out of school at this point in time. So there is nobody in school at that point. It's, so if kids wouldn't be missing classes or anything to that because they're done the week, that Thursday before. So it would be that following week that they would already be out. you know, if you have these kids that are competing in these competitions, they kind of feel the same way, like, you know, give them that opportunity to go and finish it out. If at that point we feel like we need to start narrowing down and saying we'll compete in food science, this, and this, so that we kind of keep those so that we're hitting one competition, because these overnight stays do get pricey, and especially when you're working with a budget, they get pricey. So, you know, again, that's kind of where I'm at.
What's the cost for this?
If you're only taking one vehicle, because you only have the 6 at the max of what you're thinking, right?
That's what I'm thinking right now, you know, cause I don't think, Darren is our historian, I don't know, I think he would probably feel more comfortable if there was at least one other guy on the road with him.
So you could see as many as 7 then, possibly.
Well, yeah, we could possibly.
Okay. So at 6, if you're talking 6 students, you would still need 2 rooms plus your sponsored room. So you would need about 3 to 4 rooms. If you were able to get them, keep it about, like I said, I kind of used the rough number of about 120 is about what I've seen. So that your cost of your driver is pretty significantly low because they only get paid on time while they're driving. Your cost of your meals would be pretty low. You'd probably pay about $900 total. Maybe a little bit more because you would be booking this out since Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, check out Wednesday. So you would need 2 nights of a room.
Or if the awards is on Thursday, and
Yeah.
they win something,
But that's the same with the CDs in April, because the awards is on Friday night, and yeah, if they win. Now we do weekend C because they post the top 5. They don't do the order, but throughout the week, as soon as those scores are tallied, they'll post the top 5, and then you can kind of know if you're going to make it or not. And then kids get to walk the stage.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Kelly, first,
Mr. President,
discussion?
I'd like to just clarify the motion, that they could stay the whole week.
Yeah.
I personally don't like to go to a conference for half the conference, there really is no use in that, like, you're there to learn, and I think this is a great opportunity, so just wanna make sure that we clarify that the motion is to allow them to stay for the full week and not the, whatever, till Wednesday.
I really appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to go about however it's written on the agenda.
Is this the full week on the agenda?
It's gonna be from the 25th to the 28th.
Thank you.
First and a second,
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item, discuss and possible action regarding New Mexico State bilingual multicultural education program application.
So you did hear the presentation by Ms. Leon. If you have any further questions, this is just our annual application that we have to sign. If you all are in agreement with it, then you can make the motion to approve, and then President, you have
Is that your recommendation? sir?
that is my recommendation to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Next item, discuss and possible action regarding part-time employee resolution 2026 through 2027 school year.
So this is done on a yearly basis. Basically what it's saying that any employee that works more than 15 contact hours, less than 20 hours, less than 20 hours per week, but not less than 15 hours per week would qualify for full benefits. And so again, this is a resolution that's always put out in front of you guys. We currently have no employees that work part-time, but if you were to ever have an employee that did work part-time, then it would open that opportunity for them to do that. Only thing with that being said is, I will always tell you that new requirements are that the district will cover 80% of benefits and the employee will cover 20% of benefits. So if you have a part-time employee, but they're based on their salary and that's kind of what your base is, so it's gonna be a lot lower for somebody that might be a part-time employee.
I'll move.
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item is E, discuss some possible action regarding the Lord Foundation donation in the amount of $1,112 to purchase first aid kits to equip all QISD student families for home use.
So this was a grant that was put out by Miss Adams, just to kind of give all families the ability to have a first aid kit at home. So once if this was approved, she's already got those ready to go and what they will look like. I believe they have our logo on it.
Yeah, so Lower Foundation, so yeah, it's a community service project that FFA is doing. And I talked to Maria said, well, hey, we'll pay for that, because I'm like, this would be a great idea, and she's like, well, yeah, put it forth, so we'll pay for it. And then she even said that Laura would buy the kits, the first aid bags, and it'll have the Questa Wildcat logo and the Laura logo, and then the FFA members will pack it. And initially she thought we might have a health fair before the end of the year, that we could hand these first aid kits out at the health fair. But if we can't get a health fair before then, like, we'll have if we can get the schedule of spring events, then we can hand them out at a spring event.
Okay.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item F, discuss some possible action regarding attendance policy.
Awesome, so this is where we get into the nitty gritty of what we have been trying to, and wanting to talk about. Like Mr. Miller brought up, we've been looking at this and I don't know if that's, yes, it is included in there. If you kind of scroll through and you kind of see the breakdown of attendance, so his is a little different, his breaks down by period. But as you kind of go through there, you see students that have 179 absences. That doesn't mean they're out 179 times, that means that between all periods. But if you get into the nitty gritty of that, you have like a student that's an 8th grader that has a first period that's out 29 times, second period 26 times, third period 26 times, 27 times, 27 times, 17 times. They must like that class so they come back a few more days. And then they're out again for 27 days, which gives you a ground total of 179 absences because it's taken by period. So as we start talking and we get into the next piece of the piece that's pulled and you looked at with your whole student data and testing and that type of stuff, you kind of see the correlation. Majority of our students have, at least if you're looking at that middle school, I think the lowest number that you're looking at in middle school of absences is 32 absences, which is still 8 absences in one class, 3 in another, 6 in another, 4 in another, 5 in another, 3 in 3. More than likely attendance probably didn't get taken for that, so it's probably closer to 8, 8, 8, and 8, so on, so on. Or they were checked out at some point in time, or they just come in late every single day and they're getting marked absent from coming or not coming the first period. So what you're seeing is there's a correlation of this. You kind of can move on to high school. High school gets even wilder because you have some that have 207 absences as an 11th grader, with 38 absences in first period, 33, 28, 16, 38, 27, and 27. And so the question kind of comes back to, we're coming to school 157 days is what our school calendar looks like. And so basically some of these kids, if you take the number of days that they've missed when you're including all periods, they've missed pretty much a whole school year of school. And yes, it might be broken down into classes and so on. But again, as you do that and you kind of keep scrolling, I also have elementary built into here as well. And we do have some elementary kids. Elementary attendance is only taken one time a day. So if Miss Atkins was to say, let's go ahead and do a morning and an afternoon attendance, you might see a greater number of absences there, because what we tend to see as well is a lot of these kids getting checked out by 10 o'clock, by 11 o'clock, right after lunch. I will say that, as I spend my time at the elementary, I'm from 12:30 to about 1:30, 2 o'clock. You see parents in and out, picking up kids, checking them out, taking them out. And I understand completely that appointments have to happen. But when you start looking at attendance, it's a major factor in this. And so when you're looking at policy, in here, the way it reads, basically it says, in the event of a necessary absence known in advance, the parent is expected to inform the school if the absence is caused by an emergency, such as an illness. The parent is expected to telephone the school office if possible. When a student returns to school, the following absence noted explanation from the parent is required, unless the parent notified the school in advance. And so basically, everything is an excused absence. And that's kind of the thing, as long as that parent is making a contact, because most time, oh, I have to take them out because they were sick today. Oh, I have to take them out because we had a family emergency. But we're not really getting into the nitty gritty of what is actually going on. You can see a pattern in most of these kids. And then you kind of get into the second part of that where it says absence and loss of credit. This is where it gets a little, when a student has accumulated 10 or more days of unexcused absences in a semester, an incomplete will be given for all work not satisfactorily made up due to arrangements approved by the school. Any such incomplete still existing at the end of the current grading period and or semester will result in an F. So kind of like Mr. Miller brought up into play is that basically what's happening is these kids are getting the work, they're getting the work completed, they're turning it in, but when you're not there to receive live instruction, and Miss Adams hit on this a little bit earlier with the math pieces, when you miss a day of math, and I'm just telling you, here's your homework, go home and do it, it's not the same as receiving instruction from that certified teacher. That's the reason we hire these people. We hire these people to provide that instruction. We have been doing a lot of research on other policies and other places and other things. And like, for example, Texaco High School has that if you have 12 absences of any kind per semester, with the exception of school activities will not count against this total, the student will not receive credit for the class. Possible removal from school-sponsored organizations and or activities may happen. And then it also, like I said, then that's for the high school level. Elementary is pretty similar to something like that. But in when you start talking middle school, again, it says 12 absences of any kind per semester. School activities will not count against this total, whatever. Students will receive a failing grade for the class and possibly removal from the school sponsor. So again, they kind of follow themselves. So if that student is out of class more than 12 times, they're not going to receive credit for that class. They're going to have to, and they also can be removed from extracurricular activities. Because you got students that will miss on Monday, they'll come Tuesday because they have a game on Wednesday, so they'll come to school on Tuesday, then they'll come to school on Tuesday, but they leave early on Wednesday, so now they missed in the afternoon, and then they're playing the system, they'll come to school on Thursday, but because they only have to be there 90% of the day, they'll either miss first period or they'll leave early and they'll miss seventh period. Now that I've been in seventh period, I will tell you that attendance is horrible. And it's sometimes I've had to call Mr. Miller and say, was this kid in school today? Yes, he was. I have no idea where he is, so you might need to go look for him or you need to find him. And it's just that piece of, huh? No, yours is actually really good. I give all yours credit, even yesterday when it was, I gotta make up work. Let's make up work. Let's do what we gotta do. But at the end of the day, we have to do something better. I've been asking the question across, from other school districts and kind of reaching out to other school districts and superintendents and asking them that question, like, what does your attendance look like? Well, it's great once we put these things in place. Once we built this into the handbook, once we built and put policy in place, it's great because these kids know now if they miss more than 12, then they're taking this class as a summer school class. And I asked them, like, summer school, I said, well, what does summer school look like? Is it like this fun coming and sing lullabies and whatever and kumbayas? And they're like, no, they pay for the class, first of all. So there's a fee to the kid. And then second of all, the second piece of that is they have to make up all that work in an 8-week period. And so if they fail the whole semester, you're making up 16 weeks worth of work in an 8-week period. And if they don't complete it by the end of the summer, that's it. It's done. And they receive that F, and they have to figure out another way to make up that class. I asked them the question too, because that was one of the things that I've asked the district to kind of move away from, and I know that we've kind of moved away, is not allowing these kids to make up credits during the school year. If you fail the class, you shouldn't have that ability to, and we've had to do it in certain circumstances. Like if it's a kid that's a senior and needs that that class to graduate, then no, we're not gonna deny that kid that ability. But if we start putting these into practice, then as our cohorts start getting up there, then we can start really adjusting these, because attendance is horrible. It's probably one of the worst pieces, and then it falls into, we ask why our testing is the way it is. I don't know what you look like, Diley, with testing right now, but what have your absences look like in testing?
We have a handful that are gone. So we're gonna probably go into next week to make up testing.
So then they lose more class time because they're testing.
So
Or we don't get accurate results because they
So
haven't finished
to
their
kind of even move on like with this, and I'm not trying to say Texaco's policy is the greatest, because we've been looking at a bunch. But even like this, excused absences due to illness professionally documented by note from a doctor are considered excused. Such documentation must be submitted to the building principal secretary within 3 days of the absence. Parent guardian notification to the school if their child will be absent without professional documentation will only be excused 4 days per semester. The principal may excuse family emergencies on case-by-case basis. Examples include funerals, hospitalization, court appearances, or any other excuse determined reasonable by the principal. Right now, like I said, everything that comes to our office is an excused absence.
So you wanna bring the policy for second reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for the littles anyway, we all get the note that if our kid has a fever for 24 hours, not to send them. So, a lot of the times now, it's allergies, it may be what it is, but it's either 24 or 48. But like Texaco's, just for an example, if we don't take the kid to the doctor and doesn't have a doctor's note, then that counts as an absence or a non-excused absence, but we're saying keep them.
But you still would be up to 4
I know, but
without
my
that.
kid, she doesn't need to go to the doctor. I know she has seasonal allergies, but she has a fever usually about 48 hours. And it happens about 3 or 4 times a year. So we also gotta be cognizant of what we're sending home in letters. So I just wanna make clear with that. And then the other thing is, when we were in school, was it 10 days? Right, that was it. It was.
Any
it was 10
absence,
days.
it was the same, but it was 10.
And that seemed to work actually good.
It was real, because even if you missed 2 days, it was like, man, you can never catch back up. It was like 2 days it was just hard with the amount of work you had to do.
But I think you have to.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
JPO at the time.
You have to be able to
Truancy was a thing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was actually
The other
enforced.
piece
Yeah.
is the accountability
Because there's no
side,
chief.
like, we can send something to CYFT, but the
They don't-
reality that nothing's.
Yeah, but I think that the way you bypass, and not bypass, because of course you still involve CYFD, and if they get to it in 6 months, they get to it in 6 months, or whatever the time frame is, based on their rating system or whatever it may be, is what it is. But at the same time, these kids knowing that if I miss more than this, and I agree, I think that you go 10 absences instead of 12 absences, you go even harder and you come back at that and you do that, it creates that thing where, 10 days out of school is a lot. 10 days out of school is a lot of days. 10 days out of work is a lot of days. And I get it, things happen, personal things happen, this happens, family emergencies happen, illnesses happen, those types of things. But at the end of the day, if we don't have any type of accountability for what it is, we know that 80% of our students are in some type of activity. You have, and I'm not trying to knock on FFA in any which way, but you have knowing that there's a week that those kids are gonna be out of school for pretty much an entire week. You get into these other competitions too, where, take state basketball. If we ever made a clean run at state basketball, you could be gone from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And that's part of the reason you also have to look at your built-in snow days, because a lot of districts use those for.
Learning days.
And a lot of.
They cancel school, so teachers or whoever wants to go to the picnic and watch their kids.
But those are the pieces that I want to bring it back. I don't know how strict you want policy to look, if you want it to run off of there, or if you want it to just run this. This is their handbook that I'm reading out of Texaco. And so, and I did ask are legal. Can we enforce something like this if policy doesn't back it? And he said, if it has stipulations that says the superintendent will make whatever, then you can enforce it, because now if they come back to that, then that's what's being made by your superintendent. So I said, does it need to be spelled out? Does it need to be? No, it doesn't have to be spelled out. What you need is that ability for your person in charge to be able to say, these are guidelines that we're following. And this is what has been created. That is the whole purpose of your handbook, is to be able to support policy, but it's also to be able to create and make changes as time goes. And that was the only thing that legal did kind of say, was in a situation where, say you have a super flu that knocks people out for 3 weeks at a time, you have to be able to come back and say, we will make adjustments to this because we know that this hit, we know that it was here, and if you go back to COVID days, just in case you ever do, because that was an automatic however many days out. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at this, it's gotta be different than what we're doing right
And
now.
it'd still be excusable with the doctors and the
Yes.
flu and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's all fine and well, right?
Mr. President, I think something maybe we could also check in, like in your case, Mike, is like maybe involving the school nurse, a little bit more in cases like this.
Well, she knows.
Yeah.
But because we got the flyer of just stay at home, right, for the
Yeah.
24, we're abiding by that.
First, also, on the, I don't know necessarily the situation, but if it is like a reoccurrence where we know we're gonna get them, a doctor could write a note saying that, this child is affected by fevers throughout allergy season, or, something like that.
Yeah,
We do have
the
those.
bottom line to this is just kind of,
It really is to target those students who just kind of don't want to come to school. Another thing that I have seen too is like we also need to get parents on board to understand policy in state. This is the policy, and if you want your child on this activity, or if you want this child on this, like please make efforts to get your child to school. So it also comes at home, and we need to ensure that we can, be able to send those messages. I get that we send paperwork and stuff like that, but I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. To be honest, I didn't even check his backpack or her backpack, or and so it's just ensuring that those messages get across to households to know, hey, this is the policy. I get that your child may not want to go to school for X, Y, and Z, but they will be held to these standards. I hear it multiple times, and it is very frustrating, and I am sad to hear that the attendance, especially in the, upper grade levels, is not well, especially if we're trying to prepare them to go out into the world and get as much education as they can.
Yeah. Because the one thing another thing that helped our parents was, they would, the JPO thing was enough to just get them frustrated, but also, if we were gonna miss school, they made sure we were going to the doctor and we were sick,
Well,
So-
it was a different time.
It's
Well, understood.
Because like after the COVID thing, I think it's easy as a parent to
Mhm.
kind of enable
Yeah.
those practices, you know what I mean? Back in the day, man, they were like looking for me.
Well, I think.
I was a third
Yeah,
grade,
well,
parents, everybody like.
And we didn't even have cell phones back then for them
Yeah,
to
I
be
know.
chasing us down with.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you're even on the work side of things as adults, right? That COVID thing really just messed us all up, and it's one of those things to where it's where we are, so we gotta figure something out for sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys listening to this, because you know what, like I said.
I agree with it. If we're gonna go strict, we have to stay strict though.
Yeah.
Not like the drug policy, we stay strict and now we're backpedaling and trying to be nicer. We're gonna hold it to this
I don't-
standard,
I think
10
that kind of
days.
It's worked, and we haven't really pulled back on that piece.
Well, you're not done for the sport yet. You have what?
Oh,
3 weeks
like
to come back?
changing policy.
Yeah.
To kind of,
So if you're gonna go the 10 days, if someone's even at 10 days, we gotta stay with it all the way through
I agree.
and not, well, let's make this adjustment to this one.
No,
That's the same thing for like athletics as well. I mean, I think you should be here 100% of the day.
Yeah.
If you wanna play, you should be here the day, 2 days prior to the game day.
you should be here all week.
If you get home at 10 o'clock, you really shouldn't miss at 8 o'clock. It ain't that bad. That's just me personally think about it.
No, I agree with you, and
We're gonna
I
just set it to that standard. We
I-
gotta hold it and stay with it.
I appreciate that, and I think that that's the big piece that we need to just kind of look at, and how do we make that adjustment, how do we make that change? You know, the next portion that we move into is our assessment, and you're gonna see there's a
Well,
huge
there's-
correlation
Yeah,
between the
absolutely.
two.
Yeah, that's where I was saying.
Yeah.
Before, when we're looking at a 4-day schedule, and we have people missing attendance, like what we're seeing, like to Mr. Miller's point, is you're only here 4 days anyway, and you're missing 2.5 days out of the 4. I mean, and then we look at our testing data. Well, what, it's obvious. And that's why I said, you know what, as long as our testing and our data is showing the support of the 4-day calendar, I'm all for it. But when we look at the numbers and you're seeing 200 absences, and it's across the, up and down, this is not just an isolated incident. That's the problem I have with when we look at the 4-day calendar.
Well, that's what originally sold it, was that what you can do?
Yeah, so you could do your stuff on Fridays, but you can't get a doctor. 3 months out, maybe a year, they'll schedule you.
So,
You take
I know
what
I'm not
they
supposed to speak, but I will say,
get. Sorry.
yeah, don't listen, turn your ears.
Yeah, but I just,
It's a parenting issue.
no,
It's not a-
absolutely, and
it's not
that's
a
what it boils
preference.
down to, but I agree. If we need to get stricter and change the policy to reflect that, hey, you know what? Our staff is dedicated to be here all the time for instruction, but you're not bringing your kid. You're the one doing the disservice to your child. It isn't the district that's doing it. So when we do look at calendar, and I said it before, for that 4-day, the numbers aren't working. And they haven't been working. And that's what the data's showing us. So,
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
something too that like I know will, eventually, be brought up. A lot of people like the 4-day week, but if the attendance isn't there, then there will have to be discussions about moving to a 5-day week to ensure that these students get, X amount of hours. And from what I've heard, a lot of these teachers they do really, they show up to their 4 days, they show up to do their jobs. And to me that'd be a disservice to take that away due to the fact that, students and parents and families aren't being held accountable, to be able to send their kids to school. And so it's one of those tough things. It's like we need to ensure that, how can we support it's tough. Like how can we support families to be able to hey, please send your child to school. These are the expectations and these are the consequences.
You have to have some accountability. And accountability needs to happen on and I know Ms. Leland was gonna speak, but I'll speak for her, on a parenting thing. It is accountability on parenting. There has to be some accountability on parenting. I'm not saying we have bad parents. I'm saying we have parents that need to understand the importance of having their kid in school. That's a big piece of it. And it's that. You get into the college level, 3 absences and the class is dropped. And maybe they've kind of made it a little more lenient now, and they've kind of said, well, now we'll give you 5 or we'll give you whatever. But at the end of the day, you're exactly right. There has to be accountability, and I think that what we're looking at is by things like doing this and holding this accountable and saying, you miss more than 10 days, you don't get credit. You don't get credit for this semester. We start looking at retention because Diley, you have a really awesome poster in your elementary that talks about you miss 1 day, it's equal to this many hours of missed school. You miss this many days, it's equal, and it just kind of goes on and on. When you start looking at the numbers on these things, these kids, we're supposed to be in school 1,140 hours a year, minus 60 hours at the elementary because of PD, minus 30 hours at the high school. But I'll guarantee you, some of our kids are barely hitting in the hundreds. They're hitting maybe 500-600 hours of school in a year.
I will say though, it is important to educate students to also be held accountable.
Yes.
These kids are growing up, they're getting bigger, and I think that they should learn that responsibility of, to say, hey, like, no, I need to go to school today because I have a test, or hey, no, I need to go to school today because this, you know, and, or this is the policy I want to be able to play. You know, I know that that's the culture that I have in my home.
And I will tell you the change in the handbook of changing the day before, the day of, and the day after has made a world of a difference. And it has. Yeah, for your athletes, it's made a world of a difference. But, you know, and that's where we get into the hard part, is your athletes are the ones that kind of get punished for a lot of what goes on. They're the ones that got hit with the drug testing, they're the ones that got hit with this, they're the ones that get hit. But I think that across the board, if you start holding credits and us not giving in and saying, you missed 10 days, you are not going to pass this class.
But you have to have buy-in, because all that will work at the high school, but it really doesn't give any incentive for the alcoholists. You know what I mean?
No, because you move them along.
With this number, I mean, you gotta get to the parents, because even if you go from a 40-week to a 5-week,
they just miss an extra day.
yeah, you're just gonna inflate these numbers because you have an extra day.
Yeah, you just miss an extra day. And the thing is that he's right. At the elementary level, it's hard because at so on, like, you can't have a 15-year-old second grader. Like, they've got to move on at some point in time. And so what ends up happening is they just keep moving. They can deny one time that retention, and then after that, but they can only be retained 1 to 2 more times after that. So, you know, that's where you get into that aspect of it, is it's a little bit more of a challenge at the elementary level. But I think that if we start setting that bar of, and I don't know, we're gonna have to get creative on the elementary. I don't remember what the elementary handbook reads. Do you remember, Heidi?
Dropping letter grades, and then they talked about retention. But again, parents are able to say no to retention once.
And you have to be careful when you do policy or however that's gonna affect you, because you also don't wanna give the community the impression that we think we're better parents than you, and you know what I mean, or you overstep. You don't wanna make them feel
well,
either.
I don't think you come at it in that direction. I think you come at it with our next issue when we start talking test data. We really have to start pushing it out there and really using like what you have in that poster of, you know, for every day your kid misses, this is what's happening and this is where we're at. And our goal is I think we have to look at it as a celebration. I think that we need to start looking at it in the sense of trying to raise our test scores, not be less than 5% proficient in math, but be, you know, 20% proficient in math. That's a huge number to go in 1 year. You're not more than likely not going to do that. But if we start making goals of where we want to get to, that's kind of the piece in it. One of the incentives that I saw at one of the other districts that I was looking at is that if those kids missed less than so many days, there were certain days on the calendar that they didn't have to come to school.
Or finals.
Or you miss your finals.
Yeah, they didn't have to come to school because they already hit what they needed to hit. Those extra days that were added in there were for that purpose. And so that kid was excused from school on that day. And I think that those are pieces, you know, that you can kind of utilize where we're not trying to say, because I will tell you, if you find the 2 threes on there in a row, those are my kids, because my kids don't ever miss school, because even when they're sick, I tell them, oh, you'll be fine. If I gotta pick you up later, I'll pick you up later. I tell them all the time, I'll pick you. Yeah, I don't give them a choice.
I think bring us the proposed changes that you guys would like to see, working with the staff, and get some buy-in there.
Okay.
And then bring it. I think it's a no-brainer for us to make that change.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, on to discuss some possible action regarding, G. Discuss and review testing data.
So what I wanted to do on this one, and it may not be full-blown testing data, what I wanted to do is, if you see here, is you kind of asked the question that other day, what is used to do the fiscal grading? And so page 2, if you go to that second page, it says accountability. And I know it says 23, 24, but it hasn't changed, I guarantee you, is these are the pieces that are pulled, okay? And so like your K2 schools, you pull reading proficiency, which is worth 25 points. They don't do math, they don't do reading, they don't do reading growth, they just do the reading proficiency. Then you do the English language learners. So that's where like our ELAs and our ELs come into play, and the avant testing. And so like when Miss Leon was saying that they weren't too hot at the elementary level, and then they do get a little bit better as they get older. Those are pieces that are taken into account. Regular attendance is also taken into there. You get an automatic 10 points for being over a certain threshold. We are minus 10 points. So right out the gate on a 100 point this is a 45 point scale for K2, we're already minus 45 points because most of our kids have missed more than their allotted number of days that they're supposed to miss. And 10 is usually your magic number. And so we're already minus 10. So now we already dropped down to 35 points. So if our reading proficiency is not where it needs to be, then we're already minus whatever. So that's where you're seeing the scores as it gets into elementary school, which would be 3 through 5. Then you see math proficiency, 20 points, reading proficiency, 20 points, math growth. So this is now where they're looking at growth, 15 for reading growth. Your English learners that are taking the avant test, they're getting 10 points out of that. Your science proficient. Access is EL. Okay. So access, I think, I marked the wrong one on here. Yes, so it's the first one. Sorry, when you go back to their pages, the access for ELs is not that about. And so you're seeing that we're getting that. Then they do take a science proficiency, but that's only 5th grade that takes science proficiency. And at that level. And then of course, again, regular attendance is there. And so, you're getting knocked by your attendance already. So, out of 100 points, we know we're already starting at 90 is where we're starting, because we already lost our 10 points because of attendance. Same thing when you move into the high school. It's math proficiency, reading proficiency. This one you do get an additional, and so one of them is reduced, which is your EL progress to college and career readiness. So these are programs like Miss Adams does, and these other programs, culinary does. Those we get points for because we offer those programs, and we're showing proficiency in those programs. And so that's a big piece in that piece. But again, when you get to this piece, and you're talking regular attendance, we're already 90. Our average graduation rate is 72%. It's because of our numbers. You have 19 kids, you have one kid that doesn't meet graduation requirements. That in that cohort, you're already going to drop. And so you start dropping there. So between the two of those attendance, graduation, getting these kids continue through school, getting them going, and then of course your proficiencies, that is what dropped your scores. So now if you go back to the assessment, so I marked the wrong one. It's not Avant, it's the Access or ELs. And so that's this assessment that's given to our EL students showing if they've progressed or they've regressed. And then you also have your Science Readiness ASR, which is given to 5th, 8th, and 11th graders only. And then you get into your measure of student success and achievement, which is your MSSA, and then your SAT, which is only given to 11th graders. At your high school level, only 11th graders are looked at with testing. Then you also would look at attendance across the board, and you look at, of course your ELs are also rated in there if they're 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, but you're only getting a full snapshot at the high school level of your 11th graders, because they're the only ones that are taking the SAT as well as that science test. And so your other ones now from middle school, which is 8th grade on to 3rd grade, are taking your measure of student success and achievement, which is what you are currently doing now at the elementary level. And so those are kind of what I wanted to just kind of show you. These are the pieces that when the Vistas is given, and you're giving your traditional and your spotlight, your needs improvement, these are the pieces that are being pulled. And so this is why I say like the importance of pulling like some of these factors. I would rather have 10 points to start off with, knowing that I started at 100 points. So now we can kind of fix and wiggle and see where we're at instead of being, okay, now the best we're gonna get is, you know, a low A or in this sense, or a high B in this sense, depending on where it is. And so that's why when all these aspects kind of come into play, these are important aspects. You know, testing is huge. Again, you know, we've kind of re-emphasized to students on what testing needs to look like, how you need to be prepared. You know, coming to school and be ready to take this test is huge because, you know, when you have, and again, it goes back to like what Miss Vihil said in the sense, is when you have parents shopping and that accountability of parent, you're dropping a kid off at 9 o'clock. Well, that test is already started. So now I have to pull that kid and he has to take the test all by himself on another day because he can't start that test in the middle of a testing session. And so all these little aspects and factors fit into what we need to do a better job on our end as well of doing and encouraging these kids to be, you know, come, be ready to work, be ready to do. You know, we provided them snacks and everything else that they can. So even with these long little test sessions, and they're really not long, what are they, about an hour?
About an hour and 15 minutes per session.
With some breaks built in, things like that. But, you know, it's just really getting back to that thing. But, you know, that's one of the things I know that you had brought up, President, a while back was showing the data. When we were showing data, big data that we were showing was iStation data because iStation could be done on a monthly basis. This data I don't do on a monthly basis. It's a one and done. We did it one time in the school year. The window opens up like the beginning of March and it ends the end of April. Sometimes the beginning of April. And so once that happens, then that's it. That data is done. But some of the things that we can fix in there is, like I said, our graduation, making sure that our cohorts are graduating. If a kid is leaving the district or has dropped out of school, we're properly reporting those things so it doesn't just look like this kid is not, you know, making graduation. If they went into a homeschool program, whatever it may be, then we're reporting the way it needs to be reported and that type of stuff. You know, we know at the high school level, we can start off with 15 easy points. And I'm not as concerned about just the points because of course testing needs to happen too. We can't expect to be less than 5% proficient in math and be this big spotlight school and hitting these big marks in like this ideal school. And that's kind of just where we're at with this. And that's what I wanted to share, just so you could see where data comes from, where it's pulled from, how it's pulled. It's not just, you know, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. It's pretty detailed on the way they do it.
Any other questions regarding the testing? Thank you, Mr. Maldonado. We'll move on to unfinished business and discuss some possible action regarding proposed bond and general overview of the process presented by Mr. Maldonado.
So this just came back. If you guys want to continue to table it, we can. I know that he had said that he wanted to be back by the end of April and make a decision on which direction you wanted to go. I think it's probably best that you have another discussion at least on what you're looking at. But if you feel like you're ready, then we can move and I can inform him on what decision and which route you wanted to go. I do know that, like I said, this all plays into factor when it comes to PSFA funding with waivers, those types of things. They want to see that we're at 7 mills. And so that's kind of the big factor in that. They did help us, PSFA did help us quite a bit by pushing their process back. They were supposed to make a decision by April and now they pushed it back till June. And so that did help us pretty significantly. And if you feel you need to wait, that's fine. You want to table again, or if you want to make the move forward. So you have kind of heard his recommendations.
What's yours? What's your recommendation?
I'm not a bond advisor, so I would follow what they would say. The only piece that I would honestly, just kind of listening to him talk is really maybe that possibility of public bond offering, but with the negotiated sale. I don't know if we would negotiate anything better, or if we're just better off kind of running off of this competitive sale. You know, again, we hire them for a reason. I would say we run off of what their recommendation to us are.
I mean, if we need to have discussion on it, we can probably do it now. I really don't have any concerns with the group. I think they'll probably do a fine job. As good as anybody else. I'm kind of like Mr. Romanella's take on it. You might do better negotiating, but then it also depends on who's doing the negotiating and who's on the other end listening. I think either way, if you make a decision on one of those two possibilities, then for sure you know you have to go get rated for your bond value. If you choose to go private and stay with the government, well, then you don't have to do that. So I think the first thing you have to do is figure out what possible direction you might want to go. And he said it was a month turnaround on getting the process started just to get a number rating. So if that's the direction, I mean, that's, right, go that way. If not, we can, I mean, I know we've done them just with the state in the past, or even with the commercial bankers. I don't know the preference.
And I'm with both of them too. I think with the negotiated, we may get a little bit more, but again, you run that risk of maybe not, right?
Yeah, and it has to be a sufficient amount more, because I'm glad he brought this to us, because
It's not much more.
if it's not, it depends on how good you do. Could
Well,
be
yeah,
possible.
just based on that though.
Right, but even if you do more, we also have to go into knowing that the expenses are gonna also be more.
Yeah, because you're getting, what, 3,534,690, but then your interest cost is 900,891 as opposed to 756,515 on the competitive. So I think I'd make a motion to do the competitive sale.
That's one part about it. I mean, I guess I'll wait for a second. I'll second that, and then open discussion. So then we also have to figure out, or get his lead of how and when, what's your process of going to Dallas? Then the other thing we should also ask is something like this, let's say, even if we get the time frame, my fear is let's say that we meet our 7 mills and we get the capacity, but we don't do our part, and let's say nothing happens. We need to figure out what we do in that event. That we don't get a school built, or we don't follow our timeline. I think that's also a real concern and a real possibility.
So typically, usually what happens with something like this is we would have to request an extension, but they would only give it to us for about a year. It's not much of an extension, if you will. So yeah, you're absolutely right, we have to hit everything and make sure we're able to, because if not, they don't give us much more.
So
Once you start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once you start, and so kind of to touch a little, I had that conversation with PSFA the day that they came out for a visit. They are not only here to provide, because they're not the ones that actually provide the money. They're not the money providers. And so what they do is they are kind of like your middle person to help with keeping you on timeline and kind of developing that timeline. And so he said, exactly, his name was Mark, what he basically said was, I am the pushy guy. And if I have to come to your board and say, you're falling behind on timeline here, this is where we need to get back to be able to do. He said, I have no issues whatsoever doing that, because at the end of the day, these stakeholders that are throwing money to these districts are expecting outcome. They're not just expecting, You know, oh, we gave you $40 million, take your time, do what you need to do with it. And so that's the big piece is that, you know, we also have people like that that are on our site that will help push timelines, making sure that we stay within where we need to be. That's what he said, why we give you a little bit longer of a timeline, especially with like the architectural, the design end. Because he says, really,
And that's part of the concern there, John, is like, I don't think that we've ever discussed, or we're not even sure what we're gonna do, or where we're gonna do it. You know, and it's already, we've got it passed. Well, we don't know if we're gonna build completely new, or, you know, if we're gonna try to retrofit something, and we don't know which site or if either that we're entertaining. We've never made that progress as a board. You know what I mean? It's
I
like,
thought we did decide that we were gonna do it at, up there, high school. The high school was the decision. And for,
I don't know, did we?
yeah.
We talked about it, we never made much discussion about it.
Decision.
I talked about it, but
We
talked about it because we had talked about down here and then the lift
pumps
I
and
think
everything
what
going
we
on
were also needing to do was get public input too, with pros and cons.
But we
To
haven't,
decide,
and we haven't made that. I know we had discussions that we might have public forums or figure out how we make that happen, but there's never been any planning of that.
Well, I think the direction was to move forward with this process because when we get to the plan, then that's when we would make those decisions, right? Because we want to meet the timeline
Well,
also.
I think we got kind of motivated that we wanted to get on the ballot. You know what I mean? It's like, because we didn't even have nothing to sell the community other than we're gonna probably build something new. And I think like, and it has to happen at multiple stages.
Well, that was
You're
the,
gonna have to make a decision on the
was
bond.
it the PSFA that told us we have to reduce the square footage regardless and we couldn't retro do nothing? We said we have to do new, right? That was the direction.
to qualify for the waiver,
Yeah.
the reduction waiver, yeah.
Did we do a survey though?
Hmm?
Yeah, we did a survey, so we got that.
Oh yeah, the survey was new, right?
Yeah, so we're kind of in that process, but we have to get through this to get the waiver,
I think
to
we gotta,
get to the planning
I
part.
think we gotta do it all kind of,
Yeah, no,
This is a different part.
Yeah,
Than actually what's gonna happen.
different spoken
Yeah,
words.
this has to happen. I mean, it got passed, so you can't not make a decision on this.
Yeah.
Or else, I don't know, or else, and the taxpayers are
Yeah.
liable for that, you know.
Yeah,
Took a loan out on everybody's property. Now, on the other side of what we're gonna do in the future, I think we're gonna also have to start that ball and get that moving down the court, or else we'll be in the same boat when we have money.
yeah,
and
because
funds
that was
ready
kind
and-
of the direction that we don't put the cart behind the horse, right?
Right in front of the horse, yeah.
In front of the horse or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they
but-
made their visit. So now it's like things
Yeah.
are gonna have to start moving.
So do we make the decision
So that was
tonight? Well, that, we got the first and the
First
second.
and second, we're just on discussion. So if we're done with them.
Because this will be done before April. If we decide tonight, he can bring the resolution to the next meeting, right? Which,
And then remember, our first meeting is typically for the first of the month, why we went to 2 meetings just to discuss the building. So I think you could bring that back on the agenda as to where, and then it's new.
yeah, because everybody got a chance, more or less, to go look at other facilities there in Colorado with our newer buildings. So you guys got to, I mean, I only went to a couple of them. I didn't get to go to all of them, but. So we do have some insight and progress as to,
We've got to report back.
yeah, so we can report back.
He's
to-
been doing his part, like, we don't
Yeah.
have nothing officially on the agenda, as long as we got something on the superintendent report. You know, that's what he can do, and then the rest of it, it's like whatever else he's gonna do, it's up to us to give that
Go ahead.
objective to go after this, go after that, or.
So what was your motion to go with the competitive
So public brought that for competitors.
sale? But you don't have to decide necessarily negotiated or?
Not,
but
not
it's-
negotiated.
It's competitive, so
Yeah, that, the recommend, okay,
the one that's highlighted.
okay, gotcha,
Recommended.
recommended.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so we're clear, cause, it's a big decision, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Well, any further discussion? You just have, putting it out there before we move to vote. Well, I have a first and a second.
I would do a roll call.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Madam Secretary, roll call.
President Rayo,
Yes.
Vice President Cordova,
Yes.
Secretary Vito, yes. Member Cisneros,
Yes.
Member Romero.
Yes.
Finance. First part. Any questions for item B? Budget actuals.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cisneros.
what are we paying the Costa Economic Development Fund for?
It's the newspaper
Well, they charge us.
for certain things, yeah.
So that one was probably the report card. That is mandated by state statute that we have to post it in one newspaper publication. We did get quotes. There was significantly less than House Trustee, like $7,000.
That's crazy, man. I thought they didn't charge that.
No, they charge us.
We've been doing that for a while.
For any report like that, even if we do postings, job postings, things like that, like if I wanna put it as an ad, then yes, they charge us for that. We had kind of talked about doing an editorial type of thing, if we do,
Like, that was back in the day, they didn't have much in there, and they were asking us to.
Yeah.
To put stuff in, and we didn't have to pay for that.
yeah, not anymore, now it's a charge. But again, like I said, they were significantly less than the town's paper.
So, the deposit for rents from Red River, is that an annual payment, or or what is that split between?
That's for the prom, I believe.
I don't think so. It was for us.
Yeah, we took it.
You took in 65,000.
Oh, yeah, from Red River. That's they're behind like 4 quarters on the lease payment.
What's the
So-
value? Well, you say the value is what they was.
Well, that was to catch up. They
Also, they're
sent
caught up now?
4 quarters all at the same time.
Okay.
So it's broken to a quarterly, so they pay like 30,000 a quarter is about.
So now they're,
Now they're caught up.
so they don't owe nothing further.
They're a little less, they're like 20,000 a quarter, but yeah.
Eviction notice. Almost had to give me eviction notice on that one. Do you send them a letter saying, hey, you're
I haven't had to. It seems like the first 2 years they're doing 2 every year. And then the last 2 years they've just been doing once per once per year. So I don't know if that was just something on their end or
So every time they no police, every time they leave, past those 90
I don't know
days.
if it was they're mad at us or withholding. But yeah, then we get a bunch in all at the same time.
We're such nice landlords.
The village of Questa. What, on the 18th, what was that coming?
What page is that on?
2.
Page 2 of the deposits and transfers.
Activity report.
Page 2. Page.
2579.79.
That's so our monthly payment to them gets paid through auto debit on through their website.
It's for water, trash.
Sewer, water, trash.
Did we ever get that adjusted?
They gave us a discount on the water
Yeah,
portion.
we can't get a discount on the sewer and the trash.
Change the wording.
Yeah, we'd have to change it, Lord.
Okay. Does it give it to you broken up what we pay like for water, for trash, for sewer? It spreads it all out?
Yeah, there's 6 accounts and then each one has a charge for water, sewer.
Okay.
What was the request for the bank card?
On which
I got a call from Hillcrest asking that you requested.
you were asking
Another
about
charge
the athletics and activity accounts. So right now, if you have to pay for something from athletics or activities, they don't have a credit card to use. So then the teachers are purchasing it and we're reimbursing them. So like some of the honor society stuff, they no longer take POs. And if they want to pay out of their activity, they don't have a credit card to be able to do that. So we put in a request. I hadn't heard anything back, but that's what we're trying to do is get activity a card and athletic a card.
So if athletic don't have, athletic has one or they don't have one?
No.
So what are you using for the rooms and stuff?
We're using the main credit card, and then what we're doing is we're reimbursing money out of the athletic account to the general account.
There's
Transfers to get a card?
I don't know.
I thought they had a P card.
Their P card is only used for meals.
Yeah.
It's only their meals. But like if they're doing rooms or even equipment, so like there's some of these vendors now that won't take our PO, we have to use the general credit card. And then we do a adjustment to that account and pull it up and send that to that main account, and that kind of takes care of that piece. But there's only one credit card. So the P card is, yeah, they do have that, but that's used for their meals only.
But that's also tied to the activity, the main operational account.
So that's your journal entries on there when you say approved bank transfer moving X amount of dollars from activity to operational, that's to.
Yeah, because we have to, if we pay with the credit card for anything, then we have to transfer.
So when we do that with the rooms on this stuff too, are we getting like, you get points for that, hotel stays? Why not?
The cards that we use don't have
Government
any.
issue cards.
Government issue cards.
Nothing on
No,
it.
no, you don't get none of the cards, but like you get them from hotels themselves. If you book at the same hotel, book with.
Yes, we have to sign up to be members.
You would have to sign up, and it would have to be run through probably one of our email addresses, is the way that would work.
Why don't you, so that way at this time of year, we can send kids for
For free.
free hotel rooms.
Huh?
Hey,
For the Hyatt, for free.
so you're requesting 2 cards? More?
Well, we asked to see if they, because we're not even sure if they will or not.
Well, they will.
One for the athletic account and one for the activity account.
We just have to authorize it because we're on the account, but I had no idea what they were even talking about when they called to ask us to authorize bank cards. I said no, because there's nothing in the minutes for us saying that we could do that.
What you're saying is there's no communication. I'll let you know.
Well, no, if they need it and it's okay, then we just bring it. So
You have to put it on the agenda.
yeah, it's gotta be on the
Yeah,
agenda. 'cause I don't-
we can bring it to an agenda and put it there and then ask for that, to be able to do that. It'd be, probably be helpful.
Well, and they hadn't even responded because the last time we asked, they said we couldn't get cards. So I sent an email maybe like 2 weeks ago asking, is it possible to get cards for these 2 accounts?
Yeah, and then they,
And so I
that's
still
when
haven't
they
even.
called me, cause they're like, well, we.
See, that's one thing I'll tell you with Hillcrest Bank is where we sometimes have some difficulties, cause you can't just call them and say, is there any way we can get a credit increase or whatever, you have to go through an 800 number and call them, and so that's probably when he emailed them, it was probably just to even get the basic info, not even requesting at that point in time, just asking, is this even a possibility to get these
You need
cards?
to go and talk to Cassandra, you work in the Taos Maine, or where you guys doing it?
We deal with both,
They called me from Red River.
we deal with Red River most of the time.
Yeah, but you just need to get, you get a direct number of whatever banker you want to use, or whoever's in charge of your account, that way you don't call that.
Yeah.
You talk to them personally.
Cause we had done that
Well,
in
that's
Exton,
the. That might be the lady you're talking to now because they gave us a new account manager.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Ally, yeah.
So she started helping us, like I said, 2 weeks ago. So then that's when I asked, well, can we get cards?
We should just verify.
But I hadn't.
Oh, yeah, they verify,
That's good, they're
Everything.
verifying, yeah.
yeah, that's a fact, which is good, cause the scams and stuff, but I didn't know what you were asking for, and like I say, in order for that to happen, it just has to be brought to the board, because I wouldn't make that decision, her nor I, without, because there is no her or I, it's all of us. So we can make decisions.
Well, if something goes wrong, it's only you and her.
Yeah, well, that's why I say, I want it on the minutes. Yeah. Because I don't sound that, I ain't going to.
I
let's
said,
pick me up.
this sounds like fraud. Let me know what Jason says.
That's why you don't ever give an electronic signature, because then it types all that.
So I'm sure she'll email me back now then. But
Yeah.
Maybe just checking that you. that it's-
right now I had sent an email and I hadn't heard back, so I didn't even know if it was being looked at or not.
Yeah, if the request was made, but like I said, I didn't know. So I said, no, let's kind of make sure we're.
Yeah, because that way it bring to the board for a card approval.
All right, well, item B, unless there's anything further, we'll go to, budget adjustment request. There's 2 of them.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cordova.
make a motion for both parts to be approved.
Motion, do I hear a second? First and a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, future business, future planning.
We got that policy and then just a report on the building in your report. Well, that's for future meetings, sir. Getting ahead.
Not anything in an MSD right until June, which probably if you're gonna go, we probably need to start.
Which is the June.
So like that first weekend of June,
No, but what is it?
your summer, whatever, they're usually in Albuquerque, you're in MSBA. I don't know the exact date, but I just, if they're interested, then we'll start looking at them.
Something real quick.
I thought Tony wanted us to go to Santa Fe.
Yeah, if you wanna do a retreat, oh, you wanna date out there?
What is that gonna cost?
Probably pretty decent thing.
We're gonna pay for the office and all
We'll
that
pay for
stuff.
his office, we'll pay for his,
And he wants us to go there?
we'll pay for his office, we'll pay for his time, we'll probably pay for his lunch, probably.
Yeah, he has a, I'm sure he has a meeting room or whatever. What would Sam charge us?
I can ask her,
Ask her, but it should be cheap.
I can ask her. See what she said. Yeah, that's Tony's deal, if anybody has to go. He never got back to you.
No.
Is he charged by the individuals or what?
One is he's
everything
the dates for all the MMS.
I don't know, I just know that he requested that all five be in.
Yeah, that only makes sense, man.
Got a letter, Mike? Thank you. Yeah, for you to get fitted for your college jacket.
Oh, yeah, you got a gold jacket.
So you can fit it.
Oh, no.
Next
They're
goes,
just showing the,
next goes the
Yeah.
wand.
Hogwarts.
just the national conferences are.
There's not one in
No.
June.
Maybe there was.
You don't want a Hogwarts jacket?
I will get one.
I just wanted to get a wand,
I already bought one at Disneyland.
a little pocket. right there.
It works too.
I don't know, I don't go.
June is the law conference,
Yeah,
June 4th through 6th in Albuquerque.
so if you're interested, let me know so I can. send
And
it to
then
you.
the leadership retreat is July 16th through 18th in Taos.
Sagebrush or?
It didn't.
She's got the stage rush.
What date was that again? This is my own side.
July 16th to the 18th.
July.
That was the last thing I went to.
Yeah,
I think.
July 16th in
I
Taos.
think I got 4 years or so, I don't know, 4 years.
4 years ago?
That was the last time I went to that stuff. I don't think they can, maybe.
Joe Gian said to give you this, it's a participation.
All right.
Wow.
Yes, outstanding leadership. That's what.
Did y'all get the same?
Here, no,
That shows that you are
you
complete.
got outstanding leadership there, Mike. Yeah.
Outstanding.
Outstanding.
So that was.
Just started.
But she went to that first one.
Oh, really? I went to the first one.
And then she went.
I got one.
Because I got one.
Probably. Does it?
Okay, are we, anything else future planning? That'll be item suggested for future meetings. County committee. Well, we've got
During the day.
Tomorrow I told you. Why don't we ask you guys last meeting? Probably did.
I told you I was in the room.
Put it on Zoom. And you have budget conference.
Calendar committee?
Yeah.
Yeah, budget.
Start.
What do you want to do?
Whatever it is you got.
Well, let's just do an intro, and then we'll wait for that.
When it starts.
I gave him till April 2nd to get me those calendars back.
What?
Which is April 2nd, which is right. Stop. Which is right down the road. So we'll do an intro. Next week.
Third.
So let's do.
Three. You have a meeting on 7th?
No, we'll do one before. We'll do like an intro meeting.
No, but we have a
Okay.
meeting on the 7th.
On the 25th, you have the.
You have a meeting on the 7th. You have a meeting on the 7th and then the 21st.
21st, 19th.
Oh,
Let's do the 6th then. Something
After
before
the
the
next
next meeting,
meeting.
because you have something.
so
At what time? After school?
which day?
The
The
6th.
6th, on the Monday.
6th of April?
After school or whatever.
What time?
What should we do?
What? Can you get out of work? You go.
Fine.
It's on calendar.
We don't have school that day.
You what?
We're not here that day.
Oh, that's right, yeah. That's the day after Easter. I'm fine if you wanna do it.
Yeah, go for it.
Wait,
No.
what day? The sixth?
Pick another day. Pick another day.
What if we do the 7th before this meeting? We've done that before in the top.
The 7th at 5.
7th at 5?
But do it as a separate meeting.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be YouTube.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a budget.
I got it, when you come back, we'll.
So, yeah.
Well, you do an intro, you gotta get your community
Yeah.
out.
Do an intro.
Because we gotta put it out.
Check it out.
Oh, we have to do it. We can do them.
You wanna do it?
Usually you do like, you already have two before you go.
Yeah. We're a little behind. but-
Yeah, you're, usually you would already have two before John goes to this, but like
We'll be fine.
a month ago, you should have had your notices out.
Well, we did tell you last meeting to. Huh? Me?
Yeah, whoever's doing,
No, but you.
John doesn't run the budget committee, whoever, one of the board members runs the budget committee.
But if you can even do
But
it.
you have to put it
I
out
can put it
to,
out.
to the staff or whoever wants
I'll
to.
put it out to everybody.
You have to put it out
Okay,
to
do that.
Okay, what day?
Well, you guys took the sand.
No, before you do that,
No,
hold on, Jason, before you do that, before you put it out like that, you need to send notice to see who
Yes.
wants to be a part of that.
So,
Yeah, well,
so
that's
we'll
what
send
I'm
out
trying to
notice
send
to
out
all,
notice.
and we'll pick a date, so look at your calendar, see what day works. What about the 31st? Tuesday, which would be, oh, well, who else is on that? You and Mike, right?
Took me a minute.
You do tomorrow, you send out a robocall, and the thing on, you don't need a meeting date for it.
Yeah, I can just send out an interest.
But you send that out,
We'll send out a robocall and we can have it sent. So Sarah used to like for it to go just to him.
the
Okay.
robocall,
No, to
but
like
interest, no, I went
interest.
to both of us.
Did it? So the interest can go to both you guys. And then you can develop your committee from there. And then we'll set a date.
Okay.
Does that work?
You
Yeah.
send an email. to
So
just-
then the only other thing that I would ask is that if we can, our next
We'll be able to
meeting,
bring everybody.
if we can look at the date, the 21st, which is our second meeting in April, moving that to another date, because I do have a track meet in Taos.
Do you call him?
I can.
Yeah, the village would let you off for basketball, no, we'll give you off.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, cause what?
Put it on the agenda.
Just put on the
I
agenda.
thought you just kinda saying this was like a us decision, not a you. No, you just said, yeah, we'll pick it a date. So you made a decision.
all I ask.
This just has to be.
Just kidding, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Bro. I don't have anything else. Okay, vote for adjournment.
Motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned
At
at 8:51.
Look at that. Fucking thinking.